behalf of a group of people, you're...
Look at that. So again, it's just fucking bullshit. Suck my dick. All right. Yeah, like a Hispanic says Dios instead of God. It's just idiom shit. Yeah, I mean it is, yeah. So, you know, understand that this is not about it. Oh god, this is the most cringe thing. Okay. Margarine Titan Green and Lauren Boebert recently got into a shouting match that nearly came to blows. Says Palmer report. I don't know how fucking accurate this is. Per Politico, okay, I guess it's on Politico, so that it probably is accurate. We keep hearing about how these far right loons know what they're doing and have us exactly where they want us. They do not. They're in way over their heads, but they're making a ton of money. Not really. Okay, this doesn't count. I don't care about this, but I do care about our two queens fighting. Also, Milo Yiannopoulos might be working for Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene held a press conference yesterday at which Milo Yiannopoulos was present, at which she singled him out. That is one fucking loser working with another fucking loser in you know, not the greatest career move for her, I think. Because, you know, while Milo Yiannopoulos swears he is no longer a homosexual man, I think he's too queer coded for Republicans to appreciate him, especially considering that, you know, Republicans already canceled him for being a pedophile back when they cared about that sort of thing. Yeah, fighting the pedophile deep state with literal pedophiles. Wait, he says he's not gay anymore? Milo gets no bitches? Literally, he's gay? Not gay. Excuse me. He went through gay conversion therapy and swears it works. Okay? If you had to go on a date with one of them, who would you pick? I'd kill myself in a video game. Easy answer. Straight up. No shot. Yeah, Milo is an ex-gay and also fucking insane. Not gay no more. He delivered. Okay. Speaking of your DC is ugly, Hollywood feels more true than ever. Playbook described White House Correspondents' Dinner as a kind of Coachella for DC reporters, New York media executives, and Hollywood personalities. The city's so lame. It is. I went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner in one of the years. I didn't actually attend the actual Correspondents' Dinner, but the Young Turks was throwing an event there. And let me tell you something. I've never wanted to be eviscerated in a tactical nuclear strike more than when I was there. Every moment of it was hell. Many shouts out to the actual people that live in Washington, D.C. I'm so sorry you have to endure some of the most horrifically evil and transparently so, some of the most transparently evil people on the planet. If you think that these fucking influencers are horrible at Coachella or whatever the fuck, let me tell you something. Okay? At least you can fucking jerk off to those influencers. These motherfuckers have no redeeming qualities, okay? Straight up. They are disgusting. They are significantly more evil than the influencers themselves. And also, it is the worst place on the planet. Straight up. Straight the fuck up. 20-year-olds working on the Hill must have some serious issues. Yes, probably. I know that some of you are literally there right now and, you know, always shocked to find out. But goddamn, it is Hollywood for ugly people. And they are horrible. They're monsters in general, but they also, on top of that, are just like really up each other's asses. I think it was like, I forget which party I went to, but at one of those fucking parties, like Laura Ingraham walked in. No, Kellyanne Conway walked in, and literally the entire room was like, oh my God, everyone was so excited to see her. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? Like, literally, I'm talking like actual liberal correspondents on like actual lib correspondents were fucking stoked to see Kellyanne fucking Conway. And they were like rushing to take photos with her. I was like, I want to die. And you know, if a nuclear strike wiped out this, you know, this surrounding area, the world would be a better place as a consequence of it. With me in it, for sure. In a video game, I'm saying, of course. So yeah, all of those fucking people that you see in mainstream news, they all fucking love each other behind the scenes. They do not give a fuck. Everything that you see is theater. They are all fucking fake, phony pieces of shit. Okay, straight up.
They never cared about that sort of thing. Hassle.
They care just as much about influence and influencer shit and like all this horrible vapid bullshit as the 20-year-old girl that goes to the Revolve party at Coachella. Except the 20-year-old girl that goes to the Revolve party at Coachella is 20. Okay, she's not 45 and has like literally been cumstered and dumpstered by the long dick of DC for the past 25 fucking years. Okay. Yeah. So it's awful. Awful stuff. I hate them. At least the 20-year-old going to Coachella gets laid. I mean, that too. I mean, those guys get laid too. Trust me. The DC motherfuckers get laid too. Okay. So here, we're going to skip some of this stuff. Veep is incredibly accurate. It's exactly what the freaks are like. 100%. Veep, in one of House of Cards before like the murder mystery stuff, was pretty good about like how the whip bills and how bills get passed. And also Veep is probably the most accurate depiction of American politics out there. Armando Iannucci nails it as always. Love him. One day I would like to have him on this broadcast. I'm worried about the incels weaponizing the Johnny Amber situation. I 100% agree with your take on it. What is this? Marilyn Manson is now suing Evan Rachel Wood for defamation over her claims of abuse. The Johnny Depp Amber Heard case has bigger implications for victims coming forward than people realize. And keep in mind, Depp and Manson are close friends. Yeah, except fucking Marilyn Manson is a freak. So he's not going to get the same kind of fucking media coverage that Johnny Depp got. You're out of your mind. He's literally the opposite of Johnny Depp in every way, shape, and form. Johnny Depp is like, Johnny Depp personally is what do you call it? Like media trained, looks good on camera. These are things that actually do play a role. And also, yeah, Manson's going to lose this, okay? Like he's, it's not the same at all. Trust me. And like it or not, you need to understand that, like, yes, the person's charisma and their background absolutely is important in the situation, especially when we're talking about like the way that the public views these allegations and the way that abuse is portrayed. Now, yeah. And for the record, going back to that though, and this is a good opportunity to segue back into it. First half of this video is going to be all Amber Heard's perspective. And then the second half of this video is going to be Johnny Depp's perspective on 5 of the 14 instances of abuse that were mentioned in the prior court case where Johnny Depp sued the dish rag The Sun. Matt Orchard does an incredible job at parsing through this. I promise you this is the best video that you are going to watch on the subject matter. Straight the fuck up. And that's how you know, because it only has 100,000 views, okay? It's not like a fucking highlight reel of like Johnny Depp looking sexy. It's not a highlight reel of like Radlib shit talking about how like Amber Heard is the sole victim in the situation. It's simply a very good and non-sensationalized approach to this case.
I'd argue the amount of attention we give to those who are good-looking and charismatic enough to wind up on a large or small screen is completely disproportionate to the amount of value they really bring to the world. We would argue there's no point in bemoaning that which is never going to change. Maybe in an ideal world, it would be the faces of soup kitchen volunteers we'd see plastered on the covers of all our magazines. But this just isn't in keeping with human nature. It is, of course, the people we see frequently, albeit not in person in this case, that we develop an interest in. The fact that that interest for many of us goes beyond what project they're making next and into areas like how large their homes are, what parties they're going to, and who they're dating may not be strictly logical, but it is in keeping with human nature, so there's not much to be gained from trying to fight it. Having said that, over the last 20 years or so, the culture of celebrity watching has maybe started to get a bit out of hand.
I
As
don't know if
mobile
it's the past
technology
20
has
years.
improved exponentially, so too has the ability of notable people to put more of themselves out to the world, as well as the ability of paparazzi to hound those with less exhibitionistic tendencies. And it's in this area of entertainment where we begin to get a glimpse of a darker side of celebrity obsession. Any paparazzo knows snapping a photo of a star during a moment of weakness, or better yet, profound existential pain, can be worth just as much as snagging an exclusive shot of an A-list wedding. Because at the same time as we find an escape in fantasizing about people with lives so much better than our own, there's an even deeper satisfaction that comes from the realization that below the surface, the lived experience of some of these same people may be just as crappy as ours. In some ways, maybe even worse. And when it comes to train wrecks and the personal lives of celebrities spiraling out of control, to an extent they become a seemingly endless soap opera for the masses to consume as each episode plays out in the media, there has been no better example in recent years than the short-lived marriage and ever-enduring separation and feud between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Though just because the saga has and is now continuing to play out in the media as the warped form of entertainment that has just been described, don't mistake this video's preamble as insinuating the accusations made by Mr. Depp and Miss Heard, or the issues surrounding said accusations, are any laughing matter. And also don't be lulled into some sort of illusion that just because the subject of today's video is a messy celebrity divorce, it will somehow be shallower than some of the more customary criminological subjects explored in other installments from this channel.
Wild thing is Kim K was caught leaking her own location from paparazzi. What do you mean caught? They do this. This is
6
common
months,
practice. When you see people get snapped by paparazzi, more often than not, if they look good, that is on purpose. They told the paparazzi to be there. If you see them look bad, and in a lot of instances, like they stop this practice regardless, they find it to be a gross violation of people's privacy, which it is. If they like look terrible at the beach or something because they're like kneeling over or whatever, like normal humans do, that's stuff that the paparazzi finds on their own. But all of the other, like the Britney Spears style paparazzi shit is completely, it's gone. It's in the days of the past. But the Kardashians themselves absolutely weaponize paparazzi regularly. And now, instead of weaponizing the paparazzi, they just have their own fucking marketing, and they have their own show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, where basically you do the exact same thing. They make content out of their own personal experiences that they craft a specific narrative around, including, like, if you followed this at all, the Kanye West saga, the Ray J, the Ray J sex tape saga, the Roblox saga. The latest season of the Keeping Up with the Kardashians is completely fake. 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. Everything from like Kim being like, "Oh my God, my son saw." The fucking.
Good streamer.
You're completely wrong. I'm 1,000,000% right on this. Okay, the idea that there was like a Roblox sex tape out there or some shit, like, and then like the kids saw it, and then Kim was like losing her shit. That was planet. It's not real. 1,000,000%. And if you believe that, I don't know what to tell you. That's crazy. But what is real that we are going to be watching now is a very real and very public case of domestic abuse, and one side basically dominating the narrative in the build-up to this defamation case that we've been following this past week, and how new evidence and new information and a judge that isn't like completely and psychotically, obsessively on one side, allowing information to flow through to the public, and kind of reframing the narrative of someone who was deeply disturbed and certainly abusive as well, getting their day in court, I guess, in a defamation suit, where Johnny Depp is able to reframe the narrative around what Amber Heard had claimed he was doing.
If only. Truth be told, today's case is one with so many events, claims, witness statements, recordings, and other miscellaneous pieces of evidence, that one of the most challenging parts about making the video has been figuring out where to begin, where to end, and what to include in between. As you likely know, it is a domestic violence case, and in terms of what has played out in court, it is one comprised of 14 incidents. Covering all 14 in enough detail to be fair to both sides would be unrealistic for the format, and covering them all in a manner that is relatively expedient and digestible would result in analysis so superficial it would render itself pointless. So what we have done instead is narrowed it down from 14 to 5 incidents,
Yeah.
choosing the ones to keep based on how significant to the case they are overall, the amount of raw evidence and witness accounts there are pertaining to them to limit the amount of he said, she said, and that provide a decent enough spread of information that might cast either side in a negative or positive light, in the hope that doing so will leave you with more or less the same stance you'd have if you went through every piece of information involved with the case cover to cover, though there are plenty of resources in the description for if you're not so sure of that once all is said and done. Even just the 5 key incidents contain enough details to get very convoluted very quickly, so to try to make things as easy to follow as possible, we're going to run through them twice. The first time we'll tell the story of Depp and Heard's relationship and the 5 chosen incidents.
It's a very good video for this
briefly,
reason.
and entirely from the perspective of Amber Heard's lengthy witness statement, taking all of her accusations completely at face value. After that, we'll take a look at each incident from more of an investigative perspective, presenting Depp's version of events as well as evidence that both sides have put forward to support their case. And then there will be a final section where we put forward some choice odds and ends in the case. Details that did not fit naturally into our 5 chosen incidents, but that we felt could be seen as egregious to leave on the cutting room floor. As you can probably tell by this point, we have quite a lot to get through, so let's get started.
Don't get triggered when you see this is going to look.
In
The first half of
2009,
this is the
filming
first half of this
began-
is going to make it seem like it's very pro Amber, by the way, because it's just, admittedly, only covering Amber Heard's perspective in the first half.
And for the 2011 feature, The Rum Diary. The film, based on Hunter S. Thompson's novel of the same name, would go on to perform poorly at the box office, receive mixed reviews at best from critics, and ultimately prove to be totally forgettable in every way but one. It facilitated the introduction of one of the century's biggest movie stars, Johnny Depp, to the up-and-coming movie starlet, Amber Heard.
Oh, God. Why did she have to happen? Just when I was doing so good without her.
By 2012, Depp and Heard were an item. The 23-year age gap raised some eyebrows, but love knows no boundaries. And even if it did, most 50-year-old men are not quite as appealing to 27-year-old women as Johnny Depp. In 2015, Depp and Heard married, tying the knot with a small ceremony on Depp's private island in the Bahamas. To the outside world, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's union was as picturesque as one would expect a Hollywood couples to be. But as we now know, below the surface, the relationship was no fairy tale. By Heard's account, as early as 2013, a pattern had begun, which should sound very familiar to anyone who has been unfortunate enough to fall victim to domestic violence. One of abuse, followed by remorse, then reconciliation and a period of calm, before the cycle repeats itself.
That was a great band, by
While
the way.
most of the time, Depp exhibited the gentle, quirky demeanor that the public knew him for and she had fallen in love with, he had also begun losing his lifelong battle with substance abuse, regularly drinking to excess, as well as using a wide range of illicit drugs. And often when he was under the influence, a much darker side of him emerged, one that he and Heard would come to call the monster. When the monster took over, Depp would become wickedly mean-spirited, directing verbal and often physical abuse at Heard. In the days that followed, he would apologize and ultimately convince Heard that he was determined to get back on the wagon. But as time went on, the monster only seemed to grow stronger, and the damage it inflicted only more severe. One toxic element that had begun to emerge in the relationship quite early on was an intense jealousy within Johnny Depp. He would develop suspicions that Heard was having an affair with just about any male co-star she was working with, and was remarkably sensitive about the prospect of her being involved in physically intimate scenes for a man who had been a screen actor for 30 years. This jealousy was the primary driver behind the first incident we're covering in detail. On May 24th, Heard told Depp over the phone that she would be filming such a scene with James Franco for a film they were working on called The Adderall Diaries. Depp responded angrily. Later that day, Heard waited for Depp in his private jet that was set to fly from Boston to LA. When he arrived,
For the record, this, out of all of the allegations of abuse, I think the reason why I say that there is mutual abuse, and the reason why I have said and maintained the position that Johnny Depp is not like the perfect hero or anything like that, is because of this instance. The private jet instance is one where, one, there are additional victims, and two, I believe Amber Heard's side is more true than Johnny Depp's side, and you'll understand why.
he was clearly high. During the flight, Depp began to taunt Heard with lewd and humiliating comments, many of them insinuating she was having sex with James Franco. Heard was particularly mortified by Depp's behaviour, as he had multiple of his friends and personnel on the plane, and she was dismayed that he would degrade her so viciously in their company. Depp began challenging Heard to state how much she enjoyed getting off with James Franco on set, and after she refused to answer several times, he slapped her in the face. At a later point on the flight, as Heard got up to walk to another part of the plane while Depp was taunting her, he kicked her in the back, hard enough to make her fall to her hands and knees. Later, he took off one of his boots and threw it at her. At one point, he also threw a fork at her. Eventually, he went to the bathroom and passed out, having been drinking heavily throughout the flight, in addition to being under the influence of whatever drugs he had taken before boarding. This was the most extreme incident up until this point, and Heard had initially been resolute in ending the relationship because of it. But after repeated expressions of remorse, as well as promises that he would undergo detox, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard ultimately wound up back together. The second chosen
What? And get back to this.
An incident is not really
we'll
a
check back into that in a second. I gotta pee
as
though.
it spans the course of several days. Depp and Heard were staying in a private resort on the Gold Coast of Australia. Having gotten married a month earlier, they were having arguments about pre- and post-nuptial agreements. Depp had again fallen off the wagon, if it can be said he had ever truly been on it. At one point, Heard claims he downed 10 MDMA capsules. Depp berated and assaulted Heard multiple times over a 3-day stretch, but the epicenter of this incident is in the second day. Heard went downstairs to find Depp in the games room, having been up all night on ecstasy. Lines of cocaine were on a nearby countertop, and he was drinking from a bottle of Jack Daniels. Heard said something to the effect that his substance abuse was getting seriously out of hand, and soon Depp was flying into another rage. He grabbed her neck and shoved her against a fridge, telling her he could easily crush her neck. She managed to get away from him and out of the room, but he continued to assault her throughout the day, and eventually pushed Heard to her limit. Sometime after the assault in the games room, Depp was still drinking booze from the bottle and began taunting Heard, asking if she wanted to take the bottle from him, which prompted her to snatch it from his hand and smash it on the ground. Depp then flew completely off the handle. He began picking up full liquor bottles and hurling them at Heard as she ran from him. He grabbed her by the hair and threw her across a room where she smashed into a ping pong table which collapsed under her. Shortly thereafter, Depp was gripping Heard's neck and repeatedly bashing her head into the fridge, screaming she made him do this. At this point, Heard's bare feet were beginning to get cut up by broken glass on the ground. He stripped her naked, ripping off the nightgown she was wearing, and started grabbing her breasts. At one point, he ripped a mounted phone off the wall and began repeatedly smashing it right next to Heard's face. Though in the midst of the chaos, Heard did not notice at the time. Depp had slammed the phone with such velocity that in the process, he had severed the tip of one of his fingers. A lot more on that in part 2. Depp continued assaulting
It's okay, it's literally censored. I already pre-watched it.
Heard for some time, and over the course of everything, her hands and arms wound up badly scratched by broken glass. The episode was so severe, Heard genuinely feared that she might die, but finally Depp relented and she was able to retreat to the bedroom. She locked herself in and took sleeping pills to make it through the night. The next day, when she went downstairs, she found that Depp had painted various messages on a lampshade, a sofa, and various mirrors, some of them scrawled in his own blood. Among the messages were the words "Easy Amber" and "Starring Billy Bob," alluding to an affair Depp suspected Heard was having with Billy Bob Thornton. Heard found Depp in an office, still drinking from a nearly empty bottle of Jack Daniels. More verbal abuse followed, but upon learning how badly injured Depp's finger was, Heard was ultimately able to convince Depp to contact his security team, who arrived sometime thereafter and took him to a hospital. But not before Depp began urinating in the house, attempting to write Amber Heard's name on the walls and carpet.
So I want to push back a little bit on this because I want to push back a little bit on this immediately because like this is definitely one where like this is on Johnny's side for sure. Like this Amber Heard's position on this is ridiculous, and Johnny Depp is correct in this matter. And as a matter of fact, I'd even go so far as to say this instance of abuse, this is Amber's version of the events, obviously. These are Amber's testimony and Amber's version of the events that took place. Remember, this is just the Amber side first. But this, and the judge's opinion, the prior judge's opinion in the UK, the Oibrov judge's opinion in the UK on this court case, specifically looking at this one incident, is what made me really reconsider, reconsider the situation across the board, and certainly realize that like this and the other one, there's another one where like she claims she was fucking bruised in the face and that Johnny had hit her and headbutted her and stuff like that. Those two incidents together basically destroyed the credibility of the prior judge on the libel case against the son, or the libel case against the son, where the judge basically fucking literally sided with Amber Heard on all of them.
Again, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard ultimately reconciled after this incident.
Coordinated drip campaign. It continues with a slick brown jacket. Thank
On
you.
the night of December 15th, Heard was assaulted by Depp in one of their LA penthouses. During the assault, he dragged her around various rooms by her hair and tore several clumps of it out as she struggled to get free. At one point in this incident, Heard decided to make a gesture of defiance. When Depp knocked her to the floor, she stood back up and looked him straight in the eye. This angered him, and he knocked her down again. This pattern repeated itself several times until Depp took a step back and headbutted Heard in the face, causing her nose to bleed.
This is the other one that's bullshit, by the way. Straight up. This is the other one. Why is he making it sound like it's facts? Because he's just showing Amber Heard's side first. You will understand what he's trying to do now. But this and the way that the judge deliberated on this made me realize, like, oh, fuck, the previous judge was bullshit, okay?
At this point, Heard resolved to leave Depp for good, and warned him that if he touched her again, she would call the police. But this did not deter him from continuing to assault her. More slapping, hair pulling, choking, etc. Eventually, Depp was on top of Heard on a bed.
There's a recording of him saying he headbutted her, though. Yes, I know. We are going to hear. Can we just wait for a moment? Can we wait? Or do you want me to explain it? It doesn't matter. Because he openly admitted in court as well in this round of the legal drama in the defamation case that he was trying to subdue her and their heads butted against one another. But ultimately, she claimed that her nose was broken. She had 2 black eyes. She had lumps of fucking hair taken off of her head. That she was beaten severely, as you can see in the deposition ahead of you, in front of you. Whereas multiple fucking witnesses involved immediately after and throughout the entire fucking process deny seeing any bruises whatsoever, including Amber Heard's fucking friends who had no reason to lie against Amber Heard or claim that she was fucking wrong. There's literally a medical professional involved in this incident that openly took fucking notes and said that there were no visible bruises. She went in and actually wrote that shit down. And the judge still sided with Amber Heard and said this could have been possible, that Johnny Depp brutally beat the shit out of her. So you're making me ruin the video, but like Johnny Depp openly admits that he was trying to, while he was getting punched in the back of the fucking head, turned around and tried to subdue her and like stop her from punching him, as you do in a situation like that, and their heads clash with one another. Johnny Depp basically is still in that conversation that you're referencing, saying, after she said, you headbutted me, he said, my headbutt clashed with your fucking forehead. How can I break your nose in that situation? You basically repeating what she had said. That doesn't mean he actually fucking cracked back and like hit her in the head. What is it, Zinedine Zidane, dude? You think Johnny Depp was just like running around fucking headbutting motherfuckers? Like, that's a crazy move to pull on people. But again, it doesn't matter because you probably also fucking think that like he cut his own finger because he said, I cut my finger in a fucking text message. Because that's what the Amber Heard side literally is. The Amber Heard defense straight up is Johnny Depp cut his own finger. Because in a text message he said, I cut my finger. And in another text message he joked about, fuck. Oh my God, that was so good. Oh, fuck. Not very feminist of chat, lol. Oh, fuck me. That was good. Because he joked about cutting his own finger, so it must have been real. He actually like took a fucking knife and chopped his own finger off, right?
Pushing her face down into the mattress and pulling out more of her hair. He had his knee on her back, his other foot on the bed frame, and he began punching her in the head. The last thing Heard remembered was the bed frame splintering before she blacked out. When she came to, she heard her friend Raquel Pennington, who lived in another penthouse on the same floor, crying out in shock. Pennington and another friend, Melanie Iglesias, who was also Heard's makeup artist, had let themselves in after not getting an answer at the door. They took pictures of the bed, Heard's facial injuries, and clumps of her hair that were lying on the carpet. Similar to the Australia incident,
Just
Depp
wait.
left behind a note, scrawled on the kitchen counter with a gold Sharpie. It read, "Why be a fraud? All is such bullshit." Again, ultimately, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard remained together. On April 21st, Depp showed up to Heard's birthday party at
Motherfucker said pirates play finger roulette all the time. Yeah, dude, he was playing finger roulette. You're right. Yeah, you're just making up something that, I mean, I guess you're probably joking.
the LA penthouse, 2 hours late and clearly drunk and high. After the attendees left, Heard expressed to Depp that she was disappointed and hurt by the slight, and soon he was in another rage. He threw a magnum bottle of champagne and other bottles and/or glassware at her, which resulted in her being hit by pieces of shattered glass. Eventually, Depp left the penthouse, smashing various pictures and photographs on his way out. The next day, Heard travelled with friends to the Coachella Music Festival. That same morning, one of Depp's housekeepers discovered what they deemed to be human feces in Depp and Heard's marital bed. Depp became convinced that either Heard or one of her friends was responsible, while Heard maintains the excrement would have come from one of her 2 Yorkshire Terriers. More on this in part 2, unfortunately.
Anthony just dropped the Hasanabi video? Fuck yeah, we're gonna watch it afterwards.
On the evening of May 21st,
Yes, it's official. My video, A Day in the Life with, or I Spent a Day with Hasanabi is out. Anthony Padilla interview is out. We're going to watch the fuck out of that after this.
Depp and Heard met in their LA penthouse to discuss their relationship and what promise, if any, it had. Depp was drunk and high again. He was still enraged over the feces incident. Fearing things would soon escalate to violence, Heard texted Raquel Pennington to come over. Depp made an accusation that another of Heard's friends, Io Tillett Wright, was responsible for the feces. Heard then called Wright, put him on speakerphone, and asked him to address the accusation, knowing it to be untrue. Given the inherent absurdity of the situation, Wright began laughing, and this pushed Depp over the edge. He snatched the phone from Heard and began screaming down the line at Wright, before throwing the phone and storming upstairs. Heard retrieved the phone and spoke to Wright, who urged her to leave the building. Before long, Depp had returned. He again snatched the phone from Heard, screamed at Wright one more time, then wound his arm up like a baseball pitcher and threw the phone with full force straight at Heard's face. It hit her right in the cheek and eye.
I said, "You hit me." I was crying. I said, "Johnny hit me," because then I start hearing things being smashed, and I said to him, "Honey, you hit me in the eye, my eye. And I start crying, and he grabs my head, takes a fistful of my hair and says, I hit your eye, hon, let me see your eye. Let me see your eye, what if I pull your hair back?" And he yanks my head back, and he's, I don't know, smacking my face or moving my face, or he's like yanking me from side to side with my hair. I don't know if he's trying to grab my face or if he's hitting my face, or I don't know what's happening, but he's yelling at me, he's screaming about let's see how hard I hit you, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs.
Okay.
Help, please help. I guess I say call 911. I'm screaming for help, not just in case Io is on the phone, which I don't know because the phone is somewhere after hitting my face. I don't know where it ricocheted and bounced off to.
It was around this time that Raquel Pennington arrived on scene. There was a scuffle as Pennington attempted to defend Heard, and then Depp began drinking from a Magnum wine bottle and smashing various objects with it. Depp's security team arrived at this point and were able to convince Depp to leave the premises, though he continued to smash and throw various objects as he left, and spilled wine in the penthouse and outside hallway. Pennington and her husband, Josh Drew, took pictures of the damage that Depp left in his wake, including the injury to Heard's face. It was this incident that proved to be the final straw.
An ugly red mark is visible on the face of Johnny Depp's movie star wife Amber Heard as she leaves court with her lawyer Friday. 30-year-old Heard is claiming domestic abuse by Depp. A judge granted her request for a temporary restraining order, calling on Depp to stay 100 yards away. The hearing came as this shocking photo came to light, a nasty bruise clearly visible. The photo was reportedly taken Saturday night. One report claims Depp threw an iPhone at her.
People has learned exclusively that this is not an isolated incident, so while this photo is very shocking and it's news to a lot of people, the source tells us it's just the latest incident like this.
These additional photos were attached to the court documents. They show Amber's nasty bruises, plus an injury to her chin. And these photos from inside Johnny Depp's house show a shattered picture. Shards of glass are on the floor. This photo is a bottle of wine on the floor along with a red stain, presumably from the thrown bottle. Amber Heard broke down in tears as she was driven from the courtroom in an SUV. The shocking photos couldn't come at a worse time for Depp, who was on a promotional tour for his new movie Alice Through the Looking Glass. Now he has serious issues to deal with.
But for a time, he was able to deal with those serious issues in a manner that did not entail the incineration of his career and public image. Depp and Heard reached a settlement in the process of finalising their divorce, in which Depp paid Heard $7 million, and neither party really admitted to any wrongdoing. They released a joint statement that read, "Our relationship was intensely passionate and at times volatile, but always bound by love. Neither party has made false accusations for financial gain. There was never any intent of physical or emotional harm." Translation: Depp did not admit being an abuser, Heard did not admit being a liar or a gold digger, and both of them were free to move on with their lives. As part of their arrangement, Heard dropped the restraining order, and both parties signed non-disclosure agreements to ensure there would be no further mudslinging in the press. And that's by and large what proceeded to happen over the course of the next year or so, with both
until the sun came out of the fucking gates swinging, boys.
Heard and Depp continuing to work as prominent movie stars. Most notably, Heard starring as Mirror in the Aquaman film franchise, and Depp as Dark Wizard Gellert Grindelwald in the Harry Potter spin-off Fantastic Beasts franchise.
Let's be real though, this was trash anyway. But hey, you know, that's separate. You know, he lost that role and stuff, but also this was trash.
The latter of which was at the root of things becoming openly acrimonious again when on the 27th of April of 2018, executive editor and columnist for British tabloid The Sun, Dan Wooten, penned an article on The Sun's website strongly criticising J.K. Rowling for openly expressing delight over Depp's casting, in light of the Harry Potter author's outspoken support for women's rights, contrasting with Depp's reputation as a, quote, wife-beater. That prompted Depp to sue The Sun's publishing company, News Group newspaper, and Wooten for libel, which led to a 3-week trial in London that commenced in July 2020, with Heard testifying as the defendant's key witness. Depp also took the stand.
The judge in the UK was just a fucking freak, okay? Straight freak shit. I'm gonna be honest. It's just like the unconditional support that the judge delivered to Amber Heard in that trial is actually ridiculous. But you'll find out why.
And for several days. You probably already know what the outcome was.
It was the backdrop to this summer's legal blockbuster. Today at the High Court, Amber Heard and The Sun newspaper emerged victorious. The actor claimed her bruises were inflicted by ex-husband Johnny Depp. The judge accepted this and the description of Depp as a wife-beater.
Today has probably cost Johnny Depp hundreds of...
And remember, like, ultimately in Britland, okay, in Oibrovland, it is actually much easier to sue someone for defamation. It's much easier to sue someone for libel. It's wild that Johnny Depp actually failed on this one, straight up.
Millions of dollars, and he can make
it's
all
not
the
like America at all
after the verdict and all the statements he wants, but the words are Johnny Depp, wife beater, and the consequences of that are when big family movies are being cast, they're not going to cast Johnny Depp.
Announcing he would appeal, Depp's legal team said the decision is as perverse as it is bewildering. Most troubling is the judge's reliance on the testimony of Amber Heard and corresponding disregard of the mountain of counter evidence. With very few witnesses to their violent arguments, the judge had to decide who was telling the truth. He came to the conclusion that on the vast majority of occasions it was Amber Heard. The judge
vast majority of cases out of the 14 incidents, the judge was like, in 12 of them, physical violence and abuse was probably the case. Literally took hook, line, and sinker Amber Heard's defense, saying, oh, yes, I was physically abusive, even including in the fucking finger cutting incident. Oh, yes, I was physically abusive, but I was only doing that to defend myself from how powerful and scary Johnny Depp was, okay, who was physically much larger than me and intimidating, right? The judge literally said, even in circumstances where she admitted to fucking, beating the shit out of him or hitting him or fucking in that incident where like his finger was cut off, that yes, Amber Heard probably was in fear of her life and that's why she behaved the way that she did. Even in instances where like she was the one who was fucking responsible, like the responsible party. And also the way that perfectly fucking aligns with what Amber Heard openly stated in phone conversations that were leaked after during their original divorce deliberations or the divorce conversations, makes it so much more damning because she literally fucking turned around and was like, no one's gonna believe you, Johnny. No one's gonna believe you if you say you abuse me. Fair? You think it's fair? You think it's a fair fight? You're so much larger than me. No one's going to believe you. Go ahead. Tell people that I abused you. And no one will believe you. That's precisely what she said. And it was true. This fucking court did not believe him.
Dismissed the idea that Miss Heard was a gold digger and accepted her career had probably been damaged by the revelations.
I traveled here to the UK to testify as a witness to assist the court. After obtaining a restraining order in 2006.
Also, if I'm going to be fucking charitable to the Oibrev land, okay? The fact of the matter is, there is at least 1 out of the fucking 14 incidents where Johnny Depp was physical with Amber Heard and was fully in the wrong, okay? The private jet incident. So, because of that, technically you could say Johnny Depp is a wife beater, okay? You could say that, even though in the other instances, Amber Heard either fucking made shit up or literally fucking was the responsible party. There is that one specific incident where that is true, not 12 out of the 14, but 1 out of the 14 incidents in the private jet specifically. Johnny Depp was the abusive party. He himself recognized that he was the abusive party. We will get to that in a little bit, but no, the plain one is not fake. No.
16 and finalizing my divorce. I just wanted to move on with my life. I did not file this lawsuit, and despite its significance, I would have preferred not to be here in court. It has been incredibly painful to relive the breakup of my relationship, to have my motives, my truth questioned, and the most traumatic and intimate details of my life with Johnny shared in court and broadcast to the entire world. I stand by my testimony. And finally, my heartfelt thanks for all of the tremendous and overwhelming outpouring of support that I have received and the many messages from all over the world. You have given me so much strength, and I send it back to you. Thank you.
The judge who presided over the trial, Justice Andrew Nicole, found that on the standard of the balance of probabilities, Johnny Depp was more likely than not to have been guilty of abusing Amber Heard in 12 out of the 14 incidents she alleged, including all 5 of the ones that this video has covered. We'll make reference to his rationale, as well as criticisms of it, as we go back and unpack the actual evidence pertaining to said incidents, starting right now.
I really fell off, man.
The audio you're listening to right now is a recording from March 8th.
Yeah, you're right. I fell off the bed after fucking your mom last night. Oh, God. Oh, man. Oh, God. Oh, shit. I'm sorry. Just kidding. I'm not sorry. Get fucked is what I said to your mom. Consensually, of course. She loved it. Oh, God. Double fucked. Got him. Jesus Christ. Okay. Jesus Christ was what your dad was saying in the closet, watching me fuck your mom. I'm your new dad now. You are grounded.
2015. Following the incident in Australia, we're in the tip of one of Johnny Depp's
is what your
fingers
dad said
it isn't
when I invited him into the threesome
on the recording device that captured the audio, though common sense tells us it was almost certainly Mr. Depp or Miss Heard, even though both parties have denied being responsible.
Also, your mom
As
has
you may
COVID
have guessed, the voice you just heard was Depp screaming at Heard, which doesn't do a lot to begin casting him in a more positive light. It's when other voices appear, seemingly unaware they're being recorded, that things start to get interesting, however. There are 2 people audible in the first section we'll play, Dr. David Kipper and nurse Debbie Lloyd. Kipper is Depp's doctor and has been treating him mainly for addiction issues. He and nurse Lloyd are on scene in response to the finger situation. It should be noted that the subtitle...
Low-key worst doctor in America, okay? Not very successful.
We're going to put forward.
I'm
based
kidding.
On the
addiction issues are really, really hard to fucking combat, but...
Of YouTuber Incredibly Average, who is very much in Depp's camp. Some of it we can hear clearly. Other parts are much tougher to make out, and there could certainly be room for confirmation bias, so take it with as much of a grain of salt as you see fit. Dr. Kipper describes he and his team struggle to find the tip of Depp's finger, and a little while later he calls out to Jerry Judge, Depp's head of security, who is also on scene.
But he passed away.
They can't be together now since the So, however, Amber, I think she should be able to handle the support system. And this has to run its course. And this is not going to be 2 days, it's going to be 2 days.
How bad?
15 months.
I think somebody needs to lie with her.
Jerry can follow.
She won't touch her.
That's allegation. I mean, I don't need to validate what you're saying. But
No, but I'm just wondering if there's another person.
well, I asked the same question and all those for that reason. He's not going to be strong enough.
The first thing you likely would have noticed at this point is that Dr. Kipper seems to have insinuated that Heard is responsible for Depp's injury. Again, that's if you trust the transcription. The moments he's supposed to allude to that are admittedly difficult to make out. Beyond that, though, the general tone in the room seems...
Bro, that's not that difficult to parse through. I mean, that's just pretty clear cut, I think.
completely incongruous with Heard's version of events. You'll recall the Australia incident was one of the most severe. If Heard's account is correct, she should currently have fresh glass cuts all over her hands and arms, as well as presumably numerous bruises after assaults that included having her head repeatedly bashed into a fridge and being thrown onto a ping pong table. Nothing in the way Dr. Kipper and Nurse Lloyd are speaking to each other reflect her being in such a state.
He's got this all over. I mean, he's going to get infected, so that we have to start with ours.
How big of a piece of skin are you looking for?
We're looking at this. We're looking at a third of the tip of the finger. And that, I mean, he's going to get cellulitis. That lets him know what to do. Maybe she should have something. I told Andy to cover her release it. Well, I'll tell you what's something that happened. This is guilt.
She won't take 50. I gave her 25 and 300 and said you reassess in a little bit.
Next, we're going to jump to a point where Jerry Judge can be heard speaking on the phone to Christy Dembrowski, Johnny Depp's sister. Judge has some very notable things to say about Heard's injuries that might provide some insight as to why no one seems to be at all concerned about them. Fortunately, he's close enough to the recording device that in this instance, we don't need to trust anyone else's interpretation of what's being said.
I've seen you on bed. I'm not seeing this back. And what I said, he wrecked his place. I mean, it's wrecked. No problem. There's TV. She did. It was a cut from. It missed. There's been bottles from. She admits to me. She threw a bottle on me. She did it first. She admits to me that. And I said, she says, I said, really beautiful things to do. In my temper, he was shouting out, screaming out. That's the scratches on her left arm. Which Dave told me about. We've looked at it, and I've seen those scratches before on other people. And it's all done, it's just self-inflicted. I'm convinced about it, it's self-inflicted. At the moment, I'll do a deal with the devil. I'll say it down. Because we'll be sending God to kill us. To turn around and go legal on this, to get this whole thing calmed down. You know, I've been hurt, I've been hurt, he's done this, I can understand why. And she admitted also that she hit him first. She actually hit him in the face.
So what exactly is Depp's version of what transpired in the hours preceding this recording? According to Depp, all of the tales of copious drinking and drug taking are untrue. He was sober for most of his stay in Australia, but this changed on the 8th. Heard had been relentlessly yelling at and taunting him after she became enraged from learning he wanted her to sign a post-nuptial agreement. Depp made multiple attempts to avoid the argument entirely by hiding from Heard and
Of course, Depp's team would want it, think it's self-inflicted. Sounds sus. First of all, at a certain point you have to notice that like a lot of the injuries, especially in the future, you'll realize that a lot of the injuries that are being talked about are exaggerated. And there are no witnesses for it. And in instances where there are witnesses, including fucking Amber, like witnesses that would normally be on Amber Heard's side, those witnesses say similar things to witnesses that are on Johnny Depp's side. And this is an instance where like an altercation has already occurred. Why are you thinking with your hindsight vision where you are assuming that in this traumatic incident, the guard is thinking, oh, this will be evidence for the future. You know what I mean? Like, he's not thinking that. He's literally looking at the situation going, like, he can be biased, certainly against Amber Heard, but no one in that circumstance, including the doctors especially, are not looking at this situation and going, oh yeah, let's cut this out right now so that we have future evidence in an inevitable fucking court proceeding where they are very publicly going through a defamation suit. They don't even know that they're being recorded in that situation. Also, she cut his finger off by throwing not one but two bottles in his vicinity.
Various bathrooms throughout the residence they were staying at. Apparently he had learned...
Literally the entire tone in the dialogue is trying to cover the situation up. Yeah, I mean, I too have schizophrenia. It's fine. I don't, but I ultimately assume that it's just like a conversation that they're having just to cover it up. You're right.
And from experience at this point, that engaging with Heard when she was in a certain temper would only cause things to escalate further. All of the screaming and insults caused him to break his clean streak and turn to drink, pouring himself a glass of vodka in the downstairs bar and drinking it. When Heard discovered him drinking, she became further enraged, grabbed the bottle of vodka, and threw it at Depp. It narrowly missed his face and smashed into pieces against a wall. Defiant, Depp then retrieved a second, larger, handle bottle of vodka, poured himself another glass, and began drinking that. Heard then grabbed that nearly full, handle bottle of vodka and threw that at Depp. This time, her aim was more on point.
My hand was resting on the marble of the bar like that when she threw it from about this distance. And it smashed into the bar, which and this finger, who I now call Little Richard, was the tip of the finger was severed, and all the bone in here was completely shattered. I mean, it looked like Vesuvius.
A big problem with this incident is there are no other witnesses to the event itself. We have some audio of third parties seeming to voice their suspicions of Heard, and the claim that Heard is screaming out things like, "I didn't do it on purpose." But even if that transcription is accurate, we can't say with certainty that she's referencing the severing of Depp's finger. Though while it can't be said that Heard has ever been caught on...
God damn, bro. 2018 Johnny Depp versus 2022 Johnny Depp is like me pre-COVID, post-COVID. Holy fuck. Actually worse.
Unambiguously acknowledging responsibility. There is one recording, separate to the one we just sampled, where it sounds like she might be on the knife's edge of doing so. This is from a phone conversation that took place sometime after the final incident. In it, Depp and Heard are mainly negotiating how amicably they will be able to handle their divorce, and whether or not they will need to take things to court. Depp recorded the call on speakerphone, presumably without Heard's knowledge.
The last time that it got crazy between us, I really did think I was going to lose my life, and I thought you would do it on accident. And I told you that. I said, oh my God, I thought for the first time.
Amber, I lost a finger, man. Come on. I had a mineral can of mineral spirits thrown at my nose.
You can please tell people that it was a fair fight and see what the jury and judge thinks. Tell the world, Johnny. Tell them Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp, man, I'm a victim too of domestic violence.
By the way, this is literally, again, incredibly triggering if you've been a victim of abuse and like your girlfriend or other partner has gaslit you into saying like no one's going to believe you. Super manipulative. But also she was right. She was right. Just saying. She was right.
And
Yes.
it's a fair fight. And see how many people believe or side with you.
It doesn't matter if it's fair fight.
Exactly, because you're bigger and you're stronger. So when I say that I thought you could kill me, that doesn't mean you counter with you also that you lost your own finger.
Do you believe you're an abuser?
No.
Do you believe you abused me physically?
Do I physically believe? Do I believe I physically abused you?
Yes.
Do you know I'm 115? Well, not anymore, but I was 115 pounds. I'm a 115-pound woman, and I have the capacity to abuse.
That's not the question. That's not the question.
Have I ever been able to knock you off of your feet?
You started.
Off your balance?
You started these
Sir,
things.
you are going to get up on the stand, Johnny, and say she started it? Really? I have never been able to overpower you. That's the difference between me and you.
Why did you try?
And that's the difference that the whole world and the jury and the judge will see. There is a very big difference between me and you.
And while we're on the subject of...
She was right, once again. Like, she's straight up saying it, okay? And she was right. She went in front of the public, and the Oibrev court was like, yep, it's true. We will take her side on this.
Of non-denials. If you were wondering about all those strange messages scrawled on mirrors and furniture...
It's embarrassing she won't admit who started it. No, she did. She did say she admitted she started it. What are you talking about? No, she did. She said, go ahead. It doesn't matter. Even if I started it, I'm so much weaker than you. So you pushing back and fighting back is not a fair fight. Also, she's admitted to abusing him multiple times.
Depp acknowledges he was in fact responsible for those, including the ones in his own blood.
You're so off base. This is him being manipulative. Brother of sister in Christ and brothers in Christ. What is wrong with your fucking brain, dude? I already admitted that Johnny Depp was abusive on the fucking private jet, okay? His testimony is bullshit in comparison to his own personal text messages after. Johnny Depp has also said some crazy shit in other text messages after the relationship, like fuck that cum hungry whore, slut, whatever, blah, blah, blah. He's like misogynistic. He's an addict. He himself, in certain circumstances, was the party that was responsible, okay? Stop saying admitted. But ultimately, only one side got out of that relationship and was able to make the other side look like the responsible party. Yeah, and that's enough for him being guilty. You eventually hit back after being abused for so long. Yeah, well, you know what, dude? Suck my fucking dick, dumbass, okay? Fuck you. You fucking stupid idiot, dude. You are so fucking disgusting. You misandrist, psychotic, rad femme, absolute dingus, you. Oh my fucking God. You have created a narrative in your mind that is no different than these fucking incels who say stuff like, fantasize about like murdering Amber Heard and putting her in a fucking trunk or some shit. You are literally just the opposite side of it. And because there's no structural violence perpetrated against men in a similar capacity, you can get away with saying all this dumb shit. And usually I let it happen. I let it slide. But in a circumstance where I'm being as even-handed as possible in a fucking a mutually abusive relationship where like one side's abuse is going unnoticed, I'm not going to let you fucking just say the most insane, false bullshit in the face of fucking facts. God damn, dude. Shut the fuck up. You are such a fucking sick freak, dude. You sick, twisted fucking freak. Oh my God. You femcel piece of shit. All it took was for like all it took was for an admission of like one singular instance. So every single time, including the fucking marriage counselor personally saying that every time Johnny Depp tried to exit a situation, Amber Heard would start fights. Would start actual fucking fights. Specifically, knowing full well that if the fight was going on, that Johnny Depp would not be able to leave. And Johnny Depp would physically try to let himself leave the situation, exit the room, physically leave, and then she would escalate to violence. She would escalate to physical acts. That's a fact from this court case. That is an unbiased third party. I'm not talking about the sexy counselor chick from like 2 days ago. I'm talking about the other one, not the one that like should not have said that Amber Heard has BPD, but she did, and that's like malpractice in my opinion. I'm talking about the actual marriage counselor from a couple days ago. Okay? Who said that it was a mutually abusive relationship, but Amber Heard was the one who was consistently starting fights, specifically to make sure that Johnny Depp stayed in the relationship and like stayed in that abuse. How are you going to look at all that and still go, nope, the woman is the right in all of these circumstances? Like, what's wrong with your fucking brain, dude? Jesus Christ. Why? Why are you allowing fucking men's right activists and like other dickheads to come across like there is a human being out there that legitimately is like, nope, believe women means literally believe women unconditionally, literally just never assume that women are capable of doing any sort of like abusive, capable of engaging in abusive fucking behavior. Jesus Christ.
His explanation is that he was in shock. He denies the part about trying to write Heard's name with his urine on the walls and carpet. In terms of why Justice Andrew Nicole ultimately found it was Heard's account that was more likely to be truthful, much of it came down to text messages Depp sent to various people in the lead up to the incident. One message in particular, sent on March 6th to his assistant Stephen Duters, showed him seeming to express deep bitterness about his career and legacy. This does not in and of itself speak to his being culpable of beating Heard, of course, but it does speak to him being in a foul mood at the time, independent of any arguments he may have been having about post-nuptial agreements. Nicole also found Depp's overall credibility to be damaged by his claim to have been sober for months leading up to pouring that glass of vodka. He had in fact been messaging his assistant, Nathan Holmes, in the days leading up to the incident, trying to procure, quote, happy pills and whitey stuff, which was taken as meaning MDMA and cocaine. He had also had the Australia house stocked up with alcohol. Depp's explanations were that the happy pills referred to legitimate prescription drugs, and the alcohol he stocked the house with was for Heard and any visitors they might have. Justice Nicole simply didn't buy that. Depp's admitted scrawling of the messages certainly didn't help him either, especially the one that read starring Billy Bob and Easy Amber, as the obvious reference to Billy Bob Thornton, Amber Heard's recent co-star in the film London Fields, aligned with
I think the irony here is that Johnny Depp was in a relationship and like fucked Amber Heard on Rum Diaries and like ended up leaving his prior relationship to be with Amber Heard. So he was just jealous and carried that fucking rage and jealousy with him throughout that entire career as Amber Heard continued to have co-stars that he was deeply jealous of, from James Franco to Billy Bob Thornton. Some people say that they actually did fuck and that she did cheat on him with those people. I know James Franco one is real. Not sure about the Billy Bob Thornton one, but I do understand why he was paranoid about it, because he was insecure. But also on top of that, he was an addict. None of that is justification for him to be emotionally abusive or toxic in any meaningful capacity, obviously, which is why I'm saying he's not a perfect victim. But that doesn't change the reality that he was a victim in a lot of these incidents that the court, the Oibrov court, personally decided he was the fucking perpetrator on.
Heard's claims of a seething jealousy in Depp. The written word is something that didn't do Depp any favours when it came to the private plane incident either. Johnny Depp's version of what happened on the plane flight from Boston to LA is as follows. It was Amber Heard, and Amber Heard alone, who was guilty of abuse on that flight.
Is it insecurity if he literally was in the right and she was fucking them? That should be an accurate amount. I know, but the difference is like, here's the issue, okay? The issue is, if you're getting cheated on and you don't want it, you have to figure out a way to get out of that situation without being fucking physically or emotionally fucking abusive, okay? She's in the wrong, but you can't turn around and be like, all right, you're fucking cheating on me, so now I'm gonna fucking throw a fit and like draw shit all around the walls and all this other stuff, okay? Ultimately, Amber literally would then turn around and Johnny Depp didn't know this 100%, but Amber would, turn around and fucking try to squeeze every little fucking thing that she could and play with his emotions and force him into another altercation, even in moments where he was trying to get away from that said altercation. Draw on wall abuse? No, I'm not talking about the drawing on the walls and shit. I'm talking about like him lashing out and fucking freaking out and screaming at her and accusing her of cheating and all this other shit. It's just not healthy.
had been berating him continuously, and he had been doing his best to not engage in any sort of confrontation. The allegation that he kicked her in the back is a fabrication that he believes she derived from the following episode on the plane.
Yeah, I don't believe
At one
this part.
point,
I don't
Heard got
believe
up from her
Johnny's
seat
lawyers on
and
this
Depp
part,
reached
or
out his
Johnny's
leg
team.
with the intention of playfully tapping her on the behind as a sort of reconciliatory gesture. He doesn't believe he was actually able to make contact due to the positioning of the seat, but nevertheless, Heard noticed what he was doing and did not find it amusing, to put it mildly. She reacted with such intense anger that she had to be physically restrained by Jerry Judge and Depp's personal assistant Stephen Duters, which brings us to the first factor that makes this one of our chosen incidents. It has witnesses. Jerry Judge unfortunately passed away in 2019, but Stephen Duters was able to write up a sworn witness statement as well as take the stand for Depp. He affirmed Depp's account entirely. The second factor that makes this one of our chosen incidents, however, is that there are some very curious text messages related to it. And no matter what you ultimately believe happened on that plane, it would be very hard to argue the texts do not, at least at face value, seem to fall very much in line with Heard's account. The morning after the incident, Depp sent Heard a text in which he expressed, quote, shame and regret. He does not make any clear allusions to violence. In fact, he states he does not actually know what happened, and speaks of how he fell victim to his illness and needs to get better for both of them. In Depp's witness statement, he claimed to remember the flight vividly, but his text message paints a picture of a man who was heavily under the influence to the point of blackout.
This is the only incident where I do believe Amber Heard's side more than I believe Johnny Depp's side because of these text messages.
Just like what Heard described. In fact, contemporaneous messages to Heard from Stephen Duters himself seem more in line with Heard's account than his testimony. The morning after the incident, he sent her a text saying that while Depp could not remember much, after he was taken through what happened, he was very sorry and didn't want to be a fuck-up anymore. A direct quote from Depp, according to Duters. Again, we should note, no violence is mentioned, but it certainly doesn't sound like a situation where Depp was the wronged party. Heard responded to Duters, saying that she doubted Depp was truly being made aware of the full severity of what he had done. Duters' response here was particularly damning. Quote, when I told him he kicked you, he cried. It was disgusting, and he knows it.
Why the fuck would why would anybody say that if that wasn't real, by the way? Come on. This is why I'm saying that, like, I believe this incident on Amber's side.
The explanation that was offered for all of this by Johnny Depp and Stephen Duters was that Depp was merely trying to placate Heard and had instructed Duters to do the same. Justice Nicole did not buy this, especially in light of yet more text messages Depp sent to people he had no reason to placate. In a message to actor Paul Bettany sent on the 30th of May, Depp described himself on the flight as being, quote, an angry aggro Injun in a fucking blackout, screaming obscenities and insulting any fuck who gets near. One text Depp offered to counterweigh all of this was a message he sent to his sister on May 27th, in which he expresses frustration toward Heard and insinuates his only wrongdoing on the plane was breaking his sobriety. Perhaps it's evidence that the other professions of serious wrongdoing were just humouring Heard. But unfortunately for Depp, it can just as plausibly be read as self-pity for being put in the dog box, and doesn't go a long way toward explaining the text he sent to Bettany days later.
Like the monster stuff.
You'll recall Incident 3 was particularly severe. By Heard's account, she had clumps of her hair pulled out, sustained a headbutt to the nose strong enough to make it bleed, was repeatedly slapped, and also punched in the head with enough frequency and force to cause her to black out. This incident took place on the evening—
I love leftists hyper-focusing on injury. He said that word, Indian, but in, that's a slur, right? Probably.
of December 15th. Here's something that happened on the evening of December 16th.
You know, I'd be doing like a jump with a back bend, and you can see this like graceful falling, and my hands are like, and my face though is like I've got that.
It has been noted by Depp's legal team that during her appearance on The Late Late Show with James Corden, the evening after she claimed she suffered the severe beating, there are absolutely no injuries of any kind visible on her face. No swelling around her nose, darkness or swelling around her eyes.
This one's a crazy
nothing.
one.
Her hair also looks about as full as you could ever expect it to be.
Can you accept both of them are dickheads? Why are you coming in here to fucking say this? Like, why? Why are you coming in here to say this when I've already said, like, that there was at least one incident where Johnny Depp was abusive, okay, and that they were both toxic. But the problem is that only one side was able to make it seem like their side, or it was only one side was able to make it seem like they were the victim, okay? And the side that was able to make it seem like they were the victim was actually the perpetrator, and the reason why the relationship continued for as long as it fucking did in that never-ending cycle of trauma and abuse, okay? So it's not like a both sides thing. It's more like a 30-70 thing. Do you understand? Like, I hate that. I hate it so much because you're like, oh, dude, well, he was fucked up. He did a fucked up thing, dude. Okay, well, then he deserves to be tortured for fucking 8 years when he's like trying to literally separate from this person or trying to fucking put distance between him and her. And then she, like, admittedly, according to the marriage counselor, the relationship counselor that gave a fucking testimony, okay? She would, like, get physical with him to keep him around, to keep him fucking going. And I know exactly what that's like.
Beyond her appearance, her movements are also very fluid. Most notably, as you watch her swing her arms around and raise her hands above her head, you can never detect a shadow of a wince like you would often see from someone who sustained injuries that would cause their limbs to feel stiff. Remember, Depp was allegedly on top of her on the bed, pushing his knee into her back hard enough that it caused the frame to splinter.
Think about how violent this altercation
must
must have been.
Categorically debunks Heard's claims. There is no objective measure of precisely how stiff she should look, and Hollywood certainly has a lot of very talented makeup artists, which is in fact Heard's explanation for the discrepancy between her story and appearance on James Corden. But the claim that her injuries are obscured by makeup has problems beyond just looking implausible on the surface. A woman named Samantha McMillan, who worked as a stylist for both Depp and Heard at the time, made a sworn statement attesting that throughout the day on the 16th, she was able to see Heard in a good light, at close range, wearing no makeup, and could see clearly that Heard did not have any visible marks, bruises, cuts, or injuries to her face or any other part of her body.
Stop.
A man named Kevin Murphy, who worked as Depp's estate manager at the time of the incident, also had occasion to see Heard up close on the 16th. In his sworn statement, Murphy wrote that when he arrived at the LA penthouse that day, Heard called him into the master bedroom, where he found her sitting at the edge of the bed crying. She told Murphy about her assault, but his first instinct was suspicion rather than concern. Standing roughly 4 feet away, he observed no marks, bruises, cuts, redness, or swelling to Miss Heard's face, or areas on her scalp where hair appeared to have been torn out. Just like Samantha McMillan, Kevin Murphy did not find Heard to be wearing any makeup. Besides surface-level appearances, another reason Murphy may have been quick to develop feelings of suspicion was that according to him, in all his time around the couple, the only party he had ever witnessed being abusive was Amber Heard. In the form of shouting, though Depp had apparently told him privately about being on the receiving end of physical abuse as well. Another witness to Heard's lack of injuries was a nurse by the name of Erin Borum. Borum is particularly interesting, as she wrote notes detailing her observations at the time. Borum was also not only a nurse, but a friend of Heard's by Heard's own account. She visited Heard at her home on the 17th to deliver medications. Her notes do state that she observed Heard to be actively bleeding from her lower lip. Depp and his team claim this would have been the result of a bad habit Heard had of actively chewing and picking at her chronically chapped lips. We can't say whether the cause of the cut the blood was emanating from was that or an act of violence, but it should be noted that any cut from December 15th would not be actively bleeding 48 hours later unless the scab was reopened somehow. What's much more important though is what Nurse Borum did not observe. Her notes from the visit state that after Heard told her Depp had torn out clumps of her hair and bruised her scalp in the process, she inspected Heard's scalp but could not see any such hematomas. The only other observations she made about Heard's appearance were that she looked disheveled with unbrushed hair and appeared weepy with sad and slouched posture. When this was put to Heard on the stand, not only did she remain firm, the description she gave of her injuries was if anything more severe than what she described in her witness statement. She asserted that at the time of her encounter with Nurse Borum, she had, quote, 2 black eyes, a broken nose and a broken lip, bruised ribs, bruises all over her body. It's in this incident where this video contends a rather striking amount of bias begins to become apparent in Justice Nicole's ruling. He essentially just writes off Samantha McMillan as being wrong about Heard not being in makeup at the time she observed
this part is fucking insane, dude.
No bruises, and accepts Heard's claim that she was wearing makeup on the basis that her friend Raquel Pennington attested that she saw bruises on Heard, and that Heard's makeup artist, Melanie Iglesias, made a declaration affirming that she did in fact apply makeup to Heard to cover the injuries. He seems to ignore Kevin Murphy's witness statement entirely and without explanation, though elsewhere in his judgment, he does cite Murphy expressing strong loyalty to Depp in messages between the two. Taking loyalties into account.
In a situation where it's like he said, she said, and then both parties witnesses, in this circumstance, there was one fucking party that was literally a professional a medical expert that wasn't, albeit wasn't like offering professional medical expertise in that circumstance, but like insane to just like avoid the testimony of the fucking nurse. So someone did see the bruises. No, someone said they saw fucking bruises, but never to that degree. There's more people that said that there were no bruises than, including Amber Heard's own fucking nurse, dude. And like random third parties that were not beholden to either side. The only people that said Amber Heard was fucking bruised were her friends.
When weighing up dueling witness statements is no doubt valid, but he never seems to apply the same scrutiny to Pennington and Iglesias.
Like the nurse was literally Amber Heard's friend. Why would she fucking lie about that?
Whose personal and professional interests are very much aligned with standing in good favour with Amber Heard. Which brings us to Nurse Erin Borum. Borum did not have any particular allegiance to Depp, and in fact seemed to have more of a personal friendship with Heard. In Justice Nicole's ruling, he reasons that because Borum was just dropping off medications on the way to see another patient, it would not have been remarkable for her to miss all of Heard's injuries sans the broken lip, as she did not have time to perform a, quote, clinical examination. Just to make sure there's no confusion on this matter, what Justice Nicole is saying here is that it is, in his opinion, more likely than not that a trained nurse did not notice patches of bare scalp, a busted nose, and 2 black eyes on account of being in a bit of a hurry. There are some pieces of evidence that support Heard, however.
I love to take medical notes when I'm quickly in and out of my friend's house. Like, I love to take notes on what kind of injury that someone, a friend and also a patient has sustained, okay? When I'm just going in and out and totally failing to fucking see what kind of injuries they sustained, I guess. That shit's crazy, okay? Bro, there's no point in time where someone has 2 fucking black eyes and you go, oh, I guess I must have missed that. That in and of itself is just enough of an indication, an indictment, if you will, to recognize how fucking idiotic this judge was in this court case.
Most notably, a covert recording she made of an argument she and Depp were having sometime after the incident, wherein Depp seems...
Why do you keep noting that she didn't appear to be wearing makeup? You can't tell that shit. What do you mean you can't tell that shit? You think makeup artists can't tell when someone is wearing makeup or not? You think fucking women can't tell when other women are wearing makeup or not? Like, these aren't like fucking weirdo incels whose only experience with women is their mom, okay? Like, come on, dude.
...is to verbally acknowledge the headbutt.
You can throw punch, yeah, screaming is okay. You can headbutt somebody screaming, but don't scream. Huh?
I headbutted you on the
Couldn't you did that?
forehead. That doesn't break a nose.
This part.
The explanation Depp gave for this on the stand was essentially that he misspoke. His version of events is that as Heard was punching and hitting him from behind, he swirled around to grab her arms and restrain them. In the course of doing so, both of their foreheads clashed. It's his contention that that's what's being referred to in the recording. So when Heard says,
yeah, you can headbutt somebody screaming, but don't scream.
He adopts her language.
I headbutted you on the forehead. That doesn't break a nose.
What he's apparently meaning to convey is that while he inadvertently clashed foreheads with her, the impact that took place was not severe enough to cause the injuries she was claiming. For what it's worth, Depp admits scrawling the message on the counter.
That's a way better reference than what I had originally. Like, I said Zinedine Zidane, but headbutting bitches like Tanjiro is better than that. Straight up. Yeah, that's what he was doing. He was just doing a fucking Tanjiro move.
Whether or not you think the man is a wife-beater, it seems well established at this point that writing messages on household items is an outlet for some kind of release for Johnny Depp.
That part is true. Now we get to the poop incident, which is ugh.
We'll make quick work of Incident 4, as the main reason it's a chosen incident is that understanding it is key to being able to follow what's happening in Incident 5. In terms of the violence after Amber Heard's birthday party, it's largely he said, she said, with no other witnesses to the allegedly violent episode itself, and some conflicting witness accounts regarding the state of Depp when he arrived at the party. Who you believe in relation to the claims of violence in this incident will likely hedge on who you most believe overall. And so next we have the matter of the poo in the bed. This is important to explain in a little more detail, primarily because again, it will help you follow the next incident, and secondarily, whether or not you believe Heard was responsible for the feces, either personally or by way of colluding with a third party, may well have some bearing on whether you accept she could be unhinged enough to do other things Depp and his team allege, completely fabricating an abuse story that spans the course of several years, for instance. Heard's contention is that one of her Yorkshire Terriers was responsible for the feces. As was mentioned in part 1, the discovery was made by one of Depp's housekeepers, Hilda Vargas. Vargas wrote a sworn statement attesting that she never believed the feces could have come from the dogs, due to their size compared to the size of the excrement, coupled with the fact that she had cleaned up their mess several times previously and had never observed anything like what she saw in the bed that morning. Shortly after her discovery, Vargas informed estate manager Kevin Murphy of the situation over the phone and sent him pictures.
The dogs also had a stomach issue at the time, which I think... I don't know if they actually make mention to that, but the stomach issue at the time would probably render their poops to be, their stool to be soft rather than hard and firm like a human's turd.
Of the excrement, which he then passed on to one of Johnny Depp's security guards, Sean Bett, who in turn passed them on to Johnny Depp. According to Kevin Murphy's sworn witness statement and testimony, a few weeks later, on May 12, he spoke to Heard over the phone, and she was very angry that he had sent the pictures to Depp, as the episode was further exacerbating their marital problems. According to Murphy, Heard tacitly admitted responsibility in this call, referring to it as, quote, just a harmless prank. Heard, as you would imagine, completely denies ever making such a remark. In his ruling, Justice Nicole found the poo was more likely than not the doing of one of the Yorkshire Terriers, as Heard contended. Some of his reasoning was, in this video's opinion, odd. He found the notion of Heard leaving the feces as a means of revenge inherently unlikely, as Depp had left the penthouse the night prior to its discovery for another property he owned in Switzerland, meaning he may not have even found an opportunity to discover it before his cleaning staff. This makes some sense. Nicole then goes further, stating, quote, as long as he was away, it was Heard who was likely to suffer from the feces on the bed, not him. This makes very little sense, as Heard and her friends were bound for the Coachella Music Festival, and we don't have any reason to believe she would be anticipating a return to the penthouse before Depp. He makes no reference whatsoever to Murphy's account of the harmless prank remark when explaining his finding, presumably again deeming Murphy to be unreliable due to his expressed loyalty to Depp. Incident 5 is a particularly tricky one to unpack. There are conflicting witnesses with respect.
I wonder if we will never find out. That's the worst part about it, is that like so many people are just like straight up, no, Amber Heard did it. And I think she's the most likely facilitator of the poop in the bed. But we will just never know the full truth. You know what I mean? They should make lying illegal. I agree. Is this really a question? Yes, I would like to know who did the poopy on the bed.
Respective loyalties to Depp and Heard, and an awful lot of details are in dispute. So it's probably easiest to begin with what's agreed upon. Depp and Heard were in their penthouse on the evening of May 21st, for the purpose of discussing their relationship and the prospect of its dissolution. An argument did take place concerning the feces found on the bed. Heard was adamant that she was not responsible, and at one point she called Kevin Murphy, put him on speaker, and asked him to retract his account of her referring to it as a harmless prank. Depp claims that when Murphy refused, Heard began screaming down the phone at him, calling him a liar. Regardless of how aggressively she made her feelings known, both parties certainly agree Heard expressed that she did not regard his account as truthful. The next person on the phone was Heard's friend Io Tillett Wright, who was told he was suspected by Depp as having been responsible for the actual act of defecation. Wright did laugh or otherwise treat the subject with a derisive attitude, which Heard claims caused Depp to fly into a rage. Again, regardless of how aggressively he made his feelings known, both parties agree that Depp expressed his displeasure at Wright's attitude toward the matter. It's at this point, where there is very little about what transpired and how, that is not in contention. Depp of course denies taking Heard's phone on which Wright was on speaker and hurling it at her face. He does however agree that Heard began screaming out for Wright to call 911, all as part of a hoax to stage an incident of domestic abuse. Not long after this, Wright sent a text to Raquel Pennington that read, JD attacking Amber, she told me to call 911, I am doing it. Not long after this, Pennington is in the penthouse. Depp denies there was a physical scuffle of any kind with her. He also again denies laying hands on her, but does not dispute that she began screaming out for him to stop hitting her. This, he submits, was for the purpose of furthering the hoax, and her cries did prompt Depp's security personnel, Sean Bett and Jerry Judge, to run inside. When they arrived, however, Depp claims Heard was still 20 feet away from him, sitting on a couch, and when she noticed them, she quickly switched to the past tense, saying Depp would never hit her again. At this point, Jerry Judge...
So... this is the part, this is like the most like Gone Girl adjacent part. Anyway, let's
urged
continue.
Depp to exit the residence, which he did. All of the accusations that he was smashing up various things and swigging from a wine bottle are categorically denied by Depp. As mentioned, a problem with this one is there are multiple witnesses, but they contradict each other. You can likely guess how things break. Heard's friends affirm her account, Depp's employees affirm his. To keep things simple, we'll just call that a wash, and focus on testimony that comes from seemingly disinterested parties, as well as things that are actually documented. The first thing to look at is photographic evidence. These are two images taken by Raquel Pennington on the night of the incident. They demonstrate how variance in lighting can make a rather noticeable difference with appearances, as the images are taken moments apart, yet the alleged injury looks somewhat larger and more defined on the left. Depp and his team don't contend the injury is photoshopped, but rather that it is faked with something like makeup. One thing we'll note is that if it is faked, whoever applied it was quite clever, because they mimicked the sort of markings you might see from a blunt object striking the area around the eye very accurately. You can see some redness, with a linear edge, around Heard's right temple, and under the eye, in keeping with the side of a linear object coming into contact with this area. If Heard's temple was the point of impact, you might expect blood to accumulate under the skin around the eye, resulting in a red colour like we see here. The only part of the markings that look potentially atypical is the redness on Heard's eyelid. Most of the time it would take a few hours for this area to show bruising as a result of blunt force impact to the temple and lower eye socket area, but
Motherfucker is like going JCS on this right now.
we can't say the eyelid categorically would not redden within an hour of such a strike, so it's not of paramount importance. Little to no swelling is visible, though it is supposed to be a fresh bruise, and these sorts of things can vary considerably. Can this sort of mark be created by household makeup products? Absolutely. There is unfortunately no way to differentiate coloration from such a product, and coloration from actual blunt force trauma with only a photograph to go on. So ultimately, you just have to decide how plausible you think it is that Heard or Pennington would have understood the general pattern of eye injuries adequately enough to pull off this convincing of a job. The next thing to do is to compare the images presented by Heard to what witnesses other than her friends, or anyone with a clear loyalty to Depp, attest to seeing that night. The most notable of such witnesses are police who showed up on the scene after Depp's departure. Officers Melissa Sains and Tyler Haddon responded to Tillet Wright's call, and were in the building at a time which would have been very close to when Heard was allegedly struck in the eye with...
She literally said she didn't see anything. Like, she didn't see any markings. And not only that, but... And cops are really bad at domestic abuse, obviously, like dealing with domestic abuse. Notoriously, they're fucking bad. However, the cop in this circumstance very clearly was still on her side, like Amber Heard's side, because she went so far as to say, listen, like they looked around the house, they looked around the house, they couldn't find anything, no criminal acts, no wrongdoing, whatever. Okay. What are you talking about? Cops are notoriously great at okay. Cops are notoriously great at domestic abuse, like doing it, and they're very bad at analyzing it and accurately stopping it from happening when they arrive on scene. If anything, they come in and join in on the fun, I guess, right? But the point I'm trying to make here is that the cop in this specific instance, and I'm no friend, okay? I am a foe to the cops. However, in this circumstance, the cop also offered, after doing a search, said that there was nothing out of the ordinary, that her face had no bruises, no visible bruises whatsoever. This is a visible bruise. 100% a cop would notice that. But straight up, the cop said even that he left her card with her, with Amber. That's why players don't make good coaches? Oh my God. What the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Cops, very good at domestic abuse, very bad at stopping it and analyzing it. Okay. Yeah, when a cop says they're a domestic abuse expert, you know what they mean, okay? Yeah, there was a woman cop too. No, that's what I'm talking about, the woman cop. Still a cop. If the cop was not fucking like interested at all and thought like, oh yeah, women are liars, what a lying bitch Amber is, or whatever the fuck, right? She wouldn't have also been like, here's my card, you know, if anything else, like if you change your mind, please go ahead and like let me know. You know what I mean? Like she wouldn't have done all that, which she did.
The phone. Both officers were trained in handling and investigating domestic violence calls. They both got a close look at Heard, and both...
Dude, this is the most New Zealand approach, like handling, they trained in handling domestic abuse and domestic violence cases. Yeah, that doesn't mean anything, for the record, okay? I'm just going to point that out. The cops being trained doesn't necessarily really mean they're trained. It's like... in America, at least.
Testified to detecting no injuries or swelling of any kind on Heard's face. Nor did they detect any signs of vandalism in Depp's penthouse or the building as a whole, such as wine stains in the hallway, as seen in photos taken by Raquel Pennington. They did not investigate further after Heard told them she did not want to make a complaint against Depp, which it should be noted is not uncommon for domestic violence victims. In his ruling, Justice Nicole found that the officers' accounts were flawed due to factors such as that they had not taken contemporaneous notes on the call, and in their subsequent depositions about 2 months later, demonstrated notably imprecise memories. Specifically, Officer Sains estimated they were in the building for 30 to 60 minutes, whereas CTV footage showed the duration of their visit to be closer to a mere 15 minutes. He also noted that while Officer Sains did not detect anything she deemed to be an injury, she did observe reddening in Heard's cheek, which she attributed to crying. Maybe she was right, but the fact that she observed something on Miss Heard's face that corresponds with what we see in the photos taken by Raquel Pennington cast some ambiguity on the matter Nicole found. There's another piece of evidence from the night of Incident 5 that unfortunately did not come out until 2021, well after the conclusion of the London trial. Body cam footage from 2 other officers.
To be fair, by the way, if your partner for 20 years, you're going to know what a bruise looks like. To be fair, that is out of the 2, I would say. That's the only other instance where, like, I think that even if exaggerated, there could have been physical altercation, that like physical violence from Johnny Depp to Amber Heard. Out of all of the incidents, that is one of the circumstances where, like, I don't know if it was fucking reactive. I don't know if it was not reactive, if he was the instigator. But that and the private jet incident are the 2 incidents where Johnny Depp is not immediately the victim, okay? I will say that. A lot of people get mad at me for saying this because they're like, they just want black and white. They just want, like, fucking, you know, a hero and a villain in the story. However, this is these are the 2 cases where it's not as clear cut.
That arrived on scene at 10:28 p.m. that same evening, an hour and 8 minutes after the first 2 officers left. Heard and her friends had not been expecting them. The reason for their visit is that 2 separate 911 calls, one from Io Tillet Wright and one from an anonymous woman in
Amber
the
is an abuser? Stop. Wait, what the fuck do you mean? I've maintained that position since I got a better understanding of this case. Yes, Amber Heard is the not only the abuser, but I think, like, the main abuser in this situation. That's why I said 30-70, being like 70% Amber Heard being responsible.
Who may or may not have been Raquel Pennington, prompted 2 separate call-outs. The fact that these officers wore body cams gives us the invaluable opportunity to see some of what they saw, rather than just rely on statements. Unfortunately, the footage won't shed further light on Heard's injuries, but it is very illuminating when it comes to the claims of property damage. The body cam is angling downward, which would normally be very irritating, but for the time the officers are walking the hallway, we really couldn't have asked for anything more. Heard and her friends testified to Depp spilling red wine in the hallway and offered photographs documenting the stains he left behind. As the officers walk from the elevator to the penthouse where most of the damage is alleged to have occurred, there is barely an inch of the carpet that the body cam fails to capture in good light. Not a trace of a wine stain is to be seen.
Bro, look at this thumbo, dude. Oh my god. Can you please? Dude, he literally looks like he's shat his pants, bro. He looks like he just filled his diapers. Look at the way this fucking cop is walking. I know it's, like, exaggerated because of the fisheye lens,
Right. Not a trace of a wine stain is to be seen.
God damn, bro. God damn, brother. I can see the thumb energy straight up from just looking at the lower half of his body. I don't need to see his skull to recognize the density and the cranial circumference. This motherfucker is a straight thumb.
Before Raquel Pennington's husband Josh Drew opens the door, the body cammed officer even turns around to the one unscanned corner, as if he was specifically tasked to offer as much clarity on this matter as possible for our benefit.
So you guys had somebody come out here earlier? Okay, I can't remember the name offhand. The card is yeah, we got another call. I don't know if it was the same call from earlier or if somebody called again.
Dude, he's walking with a limp. What the fuck are you saying? Yeah. A thumb limp.
I'll go get the business card from the cops. Yeah, I don't know. Just said we got another call and we came again. We still gotta make sure. Back up, please. Back up. We'll just come in and just check.
It's upon the officers entering the penthouse that we begin to wish the body cam was facing a bit straighter, but it certainly doesn't give us nothing. Now, before we begin pointing out the state of various corners of the penthouse, just so you don't mistake us for being disingenuous, no one has alleged that Johnny Depp smashed everything in sight into pieces. There isn't one identifiable object we can point to and say, aha, they said this specific thing was broken. But Heard and Co did allege a serious bust-up, with Depp throwing multiple items around and
I walk with a fucking limp due to a hereditary neuromuscular disease. Am I a fucking thumb cop? I don't know. walk past a dog, have you ever felt the urge to pull out a phantom gun and shoot it immediately? Do you beat your partner? Are you 4 times more likely to beat your partner than the average American citizen? A black person, do you immediately get filled with rage, no matter what your own personal background is? How do you feel about donuts? Typical chatter making everything about them? Oh no, 100%. I mean, I think that guy was just joking though. I don't think that guy was being like super serious. Sometimes chatters do that. Is your skull the shape of a thumb? Yeah. How dense is your skull? To be fair, I do love donuts too.
Violently smashing all kinds of objects off tabletops. So the question is just how congruent the state of the penthouse seems with their story in the main. There's no sign of anything smashed on the floor, though granted, it's possible they would have attended.
Yes, most importantly, do you faint at the good one, chatter. Do you faint at the sight of fentanyl? Like, someone can mention that there is potentially fentanyl in a room with you. Do you immediately die? Do you go into a comatose position? Because that's the final straw. Cops, it's cop kryptonite. They're told, they can walk into a room and be perfectly fine. And then someone will be like, there's actually a fentanyl. There's a grain of dust of fentanyl in this room somewhere. You just die immediately. You're a cop. You might be a cop. Yeah, it's kryptonite.
To something that required urgent attention, like broken glass by this point. Here you get a pretty clear view of the top of a kitchen island. No signs of disarray. A large vase filled with flowers is completely intact. Raquel Pennington did specifically name flowers as an item that Depp knocked off a kitchen island. This table to the side is tidy and adorned with multiple ornaments and other miscellaneous objects that appear to be in their proper place. It was specifically alleged by Heard that Depp threw candelabras. Here is one undisturbed pair. Here's another island that you never get a full...
Yeah, that's Amber's turd dog, by the way. Just remember that. I don't like rules. Thank you for the 10 gifted subs. It's not a rule to gift a sub, but a rule is at the top of the hour, I will serve you an ad. A 60-second ad, that is. And if you no longer want to see those ads, well, then maybe you can get lucky and get gifted one of the 10 subs. That I don't like rules just gifted to you or from others if you're lucky. But if you're not lucky, you make your own luck by subscribing for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Just like Seaman Assassin 420 just did. By connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. Use that on your favorite streamer. Hopefully, I am your favorite streamer. I don't like rules. With another 20, I eat sand nom 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 with a 5. Luxa Lux 9 with another 5. Thank you. Here's the 1 minute ad break now, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, and MBs. Okay, nom nom nom. Hamana with another 10 gifted subs.
All shot of in one frame, but it has glass bottles.
Sam
and
the
various
Saracen
other
with
objects
another
sitting
5
neatly atop
gifted
it.
subs. Thank you. Again, Amber's turd. This is the dog that crafted a human poopy. I just want to point that out, as RTBA also called it out correctly, just so you understand. Like, that is, you know,
Smile.
The poop is bigger than the dog. Yeah, straight up.
Okay. Who's Amber? You? Okay. And Johnny?
Is definitely not here.
He's not here? Okay.
Probably like 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you got to think, why did they say so many things were broken in the house and like a violent physical altercation had took place, but that does not correspond to the body camera footage that you're seeing? Maybe the cop testimony could be inconsistent or unreliable, but body camera footage is not lying. You know what I mean? So why is what they're saying inconsistent with the body camera footage that you are seeing right before your eyes? I'm shocked these cops didn't shoot the dogs. Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, cops were probably really scared because they were like, it was one of them fancy Hollywood houses. There might be fentanyl around somewhere, so we can't kill these dogs. We need to be on our tippy toes. I don't like rules. Thank you for the 5 get the subs again. And Marshfay, thank you for the 5 get the subs.
Unfortunately, the officers won't go any deeper into the apartment from here, but we challenge you to spot any area that is visible and could be called anything less than tidy. Both officers have stated they noted no damage of any kind anywhere in the penthouse or
I don't
building.
like rules.
We won't
What's
say it would
going on? I don't like rules. Did your fucking finger get stuck on the gift sub button? What the fuck is going on, dude? My man is showering. We haven't had a fucking gift streak like this in a while.
Have been impossible for the group to do a thorough cleanup of the damage described before the body cam footage was recorded. But to do that in just a little over an hour would have required them to focus just about all of their attention on the task almost straight away. For what it's worth, in Heard's witness statement, she claims that they had, quote, cleaned up by the time the second officers arrived. Josh Drew states that they cleaned up broken glass on the kitchen floor so the dogs wouldn't get hurt, but left other things like books that were strewn about, as they were. Pennington's statement mentions nothing about any cleanup.
Thank you, Timothy Champagne, a small taco, and I eats nom nom, I eat sand nom 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 for the 10 gifted subs. So this is the classic, like this is why I say Johnny Depp is definitely like abusive emotionally at the very least. Like this video footage is certainly the actions of a man who is not all right. Okay, he is on one, he fucked up. And he is definitely not having a good time and is being like a physically intimidating and scary presence in the relationship. So you have to, unfortunately, for all of you who are like, no, Johnny Depp is 100% in the right, blah, blah, blah. He's just a victim. He's just a pure victim. He's never like done anything wrong in the situation. Sorry to burst your bubble, but like this kind of behavior is certainly the behavior of a very toxic person. Perhaps it's a toxic person that recognizes their toxicity and trying to get out of that relationship and is like now being fucking attacked to stay in the relationship itself. But ultimately, this is definitely his mom died shortly before this. I don't know if that's true. I think this was filmed before. He said it was right after his mom died. But again, you know, that kind of behavior is not an indication that absolves Amber Heard in any meaningful capacity, but yes, if you're fucking going around slamming cabinets and shit, you know, that's you're scary. You don't know anything about mental health, shut up. I am not a professional, but you know, I do know from my own personal experiences being in an abusive relationship and also dealing and struggling with addiction issues. So, you know, I think I know a little bit more than you think, chatter. I don't like rules. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Flyer Die 85. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Gutierrez, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. And I don't like rules. Another 5. Unicycle Octopus with a 10 and Rocklie with a 5. Okay, guys, stop gifting.
This is a video captured by Amber Heard on her cell phone at an unknown date. She has placed it in February of 2016. While Depp has stated he believes it to have been filmed around 2030,
Reno Sinclair,
Heard supporters maintain it validates much of her
Couple possibilities. Another 10. Stop.
Characterizations of Depp's violent mood swings during their marriage. While Depp supporters maintain that if you look at it critically, it actually undercuts aspects of the monster narrative. The surface-level significance of the video speaks for itself, so we'll play it through once uninterrupted before going back and breaking down the various observations that both camps have made about it.
Motherfucker! Motherfucker!
What happened?
Like this, him doing this on his own and her rolling up to the room, fucking recording it, kind of is indecent too. Like, it's not like they are coming off of fucking, like, it's not like Johnny Depp's doing that to her after, like, you know what I mean? He's not like doing that to her. He could have in other instances for sure if he's doing that like that willingly. Bro, she walked in on him having a bad day. She didn't even know what he was doing it. No, I know, guys. I'm talking about. Holy fuck, Hillary's private server. Thank you for the 5 get the subs. Valetiri 5 and YSL and Don with the 5 get the subs.
What happened?
I do think it's like kind of fucking strange for her to actively antagonize and engage with him when he's like very clearly going through something. Like if she was coming in to just be like, "Oh, what happened? Let me help you." That's one thing, but she's not doing that. She's coming in to be like, she's coming in with an like she's coming in with the ulterior motive of filming it and hiding the camera. Oh, also wait, isn't this the video that she sold to TMZ? Isn't this the video that she sold to TMZ, by the way? That's the other part of it that's like kind of fucked up. Because if I recall, a friend of the show, well, not this show, but the friend of H3H3 podcast, the lawyer lady, or the was it? Oh, shit. She got copyrighted for showing this video by TMZ, right? Jeff Spicoli 420, thank you. I only date cops for the BDSM. What the fuck? I only date cops for the BDSM. Thank you for the 69 gifted subs. Hopefully it's consensual. Obviously, consent is what's important in this situation with BDSM. It's very important. Communication and consent. And cops clearly are not very good at that. So good luck with that. Yeah, this one has the Discord bleep in it. I know. Yeah, she fucking clip chimped him in real life, dude. I mean, look, all I'm going to say is this. If you're looking at a person that is like very clearly falling apart right in front of your fucking eyes, okay? Right in front of your eyes is falling the fuck apart. And your first inclination, and especially because it's like an emotionally traumatic moment for him. I don't know if it's because his mom died, or I don't know if it's like, if this is immediately afterwards, or if it, I don't know exactly where it is on the timeline, but like, your attitude is to like come in with a fucking camera and like clip chimp and then literally clip it and ship it to the LSF of mainstream media. That's kind of fucked up. Rustic Fox, thank you.
Nothing happened this morning, you know that?
Were you in here?
No.
So then nothing happened to you this morning?
Yeah, you're right. I just woke up and you were so sweet and nice. We were not even fighting this morning. All I did was...
Oh, okay, I got to point to one other thing here. Okay. Who in the absolute fuck wears his sunglasses and his crazy hat indoors in the house
so sweet
when he's drinking a mega pint of wine, okay? I mean, this is an insane thing to be wearing. Literally when you're indoors and hanging out in the middle of the day with a mega pint. I have to point that out, okay?
We were not even fighting this morning. All I did was say sorry.
Did something happen to you this morning? I don't think so.
No, that's the thing.
Oh my God, she moves the camera. I forgot this part. She literally moves the camera to be like, look, to get a better angle, dude. Look at my partner who's like literally falling apart. Demon, content demon, straight up. Johnny Depp be looking like Kid Rock. Oh no, don't do that to him.
Don't get me fucking crazy. You're crazy. Oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're crazy.
Have you drunk this whole thing this morning?
Oh, you got this going. You got this going?
I just started it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really? See that shit on me, motherfucker?
I didn't. You were smashing shit.
I mean, she was. He's like, no, I didn't, but she was. And prodding him. Okay, for the people who are saying like, actually, like she was recording because she's afraid of her own safety. If you're afraid of your own safety, why the fuck are you going in to record and like literally flip the camera over and also antagonize at the same fucking time? You know what I mean? I'm not saying like, oh, lol, just leave if you're being domestically abused, okay? That's not what I'm saying at all. But like, she's the one who's actively going near him, taunting him, trying to film it. Not great. Not exactly, I don't know, not exactly a big dub for her. H3C's lawyers, Emily D. Baker. She also has her own YouTube channel. Yes, that's who I was talking about. Thank you, Chatter.
Heard is trying to obscure her phone with the coffee cup and will soon switch to trying to do so with her body. Depp supporters believe this is a demonstration of her duplicity. Depp and Heard actually had a sort of recording policy when it came to their relationship and arguments. Sometimes they would be having a fight, often while inebriated, and then the following day, when they were talking it through with cooler heads, one would disagree with the other about exactly how bad they were behaving during the argument from the previous day. To attempt to counteract this issue, they apparently agreed it would be acceptable for them to record what was going on in real time, so they could demonstrate precisely how each other were acting at a future date. But they had to announce that they were recording. Depp and his team contend Heard attempting to conceal her phone is a telling sign her intentions in filming this moment have nothing to do with improving the health of their union. Rather, she's found Depp in a weak moment and is cynically exploiting it by collecting footage that might benefit her down the line. Depp's team have come to refer to this sort of behavior as building an insurance policy, collecting material that in the event of a divorce would provide her leverage to ensure a handsome payout.
27 months, let's fucking go.
What happened?
We don't know the answer to this question, unfortunately. Neither Depp or Heard have been able to recall the precise context which caused Depp to be so enraged here, which in and of itself does make one wonder exactly how frequently Depp would be angry enough to scream and pound various household items with his hands and feet.
This is the reason why I said this kind of behavior is not like, is not a one-off, okay? It's not just like, oh, his mom died or anything like that. When you're behaving this way, like when you're behaving this way so frequent, like when you're behaving this way, it's like enough for you to behave frequently enough that she literally planned this. You know what I mean? Like she could straight up fucking plan one of these altercations to film it. So even if you think like Amber is being manipulative, or especially if you think Amber is being manipulative in this circumstance, you also still need to understand that there is like a force of habit in this situation. So much so that she could, and she is, I think Amber is manipulative in this situation. That's why I say 70-30, where
I'm so happy for what you're doing for the younger generations.
You know, while Amber is certainly trying to film this and even like goad him into redirecting his anger towards her, it is obviously like when you do stuff like this, I'm sure. You know, when you do stuff like this, is probably a pattern of behavior. How do you know it was planned? Maybe she improvised. Are there other videos like this one? No. How do you do a third of the abuse? I say that because like he was reactive in a lot of instances where I think he could have tried to, at the very best, like be more of an adult. And I think that part of the reason, and especially there was one instance where there are other witnesses and his own personal account of the circumstance that contradicts his defense team's testimony, specifically the private jet one.
Nothing happened this morning, you know that?
Were you in here?
No.
So then nothing happened to you this morning?
Yeah, you're right. I just woke up and you were so sweet and nice. We're not even fighting this morning.
80-20 early strike. I mean, you know what I mean when I say 70-30. That's not like a fucking actual, you know, quantitative analysis over the situation. I just mean that like Johnny Depp also, I'm admitting that Johnny Depp also did engage in toxic behavior, and even in one instance, at the very least, or two, the second one being the last one that we just saw, had, you know, there was enough evidence to assume that he was physically violent.
Do you this morning? I don't think so.
One point Depp supporters make about this footage is that while Depp does take his anger out physically on
also,
doors
he
and
is
the like,
Johnny Depp's not a good guy, folks. I don't know why I don't know why you want him to be a perfect victim. You know what I mean? He is a victim, but he's not a perfect one. But that's okay. You know what I mean? You should not expect victims of domestic violence to be perfect. I don't know why you're literally like, no, he has to be perfect. He has to be a fucking perfect record. Like, no, he's not a good guy. He's 60 years old. Like, he's had a lot of fucking problems. You know what I mean? He has become not a good guy. And by the way, as someone who is also, who has addiction issues, like I know what that's like personally. Okay. And many recovering addicts will also tell you that part of the reason why they struggle and part of the reason why they try so hard not to fall back into their old ways and relapse is because they don't like who they become when they're under the influence. When you're relapsing, it's pathetic. You hate yourself. You hate yourself so much, and it makes it more likely for you to lash out on other people. You know what I mean? It makes it so hard to deal with, even if you're not lashing out at other people, even if you're lashing out at yourself. So You know, and he went through this many times. Okay. By the way, yeah, I know it sounded stupid when I say he's not a good guy. He's 60. I just meant like, you know, he's said some off-color shit that, you know, leftist chat will fucking use to be like, oh, well, he was this or he was that. That's why I said like it's hard for him to, like a 60-year-old addict whose brain has been fucking broken by Hollywood and all the drugs and alcohol he's consumed, trying to better himself, but having a hard time. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of shit that he's done that's not great, but it doesn't have to be.
He never makes a move to strike Heard. While this is true, his behaviour can still be fairly characterised as intimidating, and actions such as throwing and smashing a glass object
To you, this morning, I don't think so.
are not just a further escalation, but also match the sort of behaviour described in parts of incidents 2, 3 and 5, though granted, the glass object was not aimed at Heard.
No, that's the thing.
You want to see crazy? I'll give you fucking crazy. That's crazy. Oh, you're crazy.
Remember Depp's claim he only stocked the Australia house with booze for Heard and visitors? Technically it's unfair to insinuate just because someone was very much not sober at one time, they likely weren't at another. But as a rule of thumb, you don't need to stock a property with multiple bottles of spirits and wine during a temporary stay for the sort of purpose Depp claims. Depp is the only one documented doing things.
To be fair, that's not true. Amber Heard was also documented drinking wine and shit, but like, to be fair, no, I do think that you could definitely order like metric tons of fucking wine to the property that you're staying at in not a super long time. It's irresponsible behavior. It's irresponsible, especially if you think that like you have even a fraction of the slightest of a chance that you could relapse. But like, I mean, I have alcohol in my house. Obviously, I'm not in the same level of alcoholism. It's a lot different. Every human being is different. But yeah, no, I can totally see someone being like, yeah, we bought a lot of alcohol for my partner who drinks and also for guests.
Things like filling a pint glass to the brim with red wine. The sort of drinking habit we'd expect to see in someone who would need the kind of supply arranged in Australia.
You hate yourself, so you need to escape yourself, but it doesn't work, so the system...
You got this going? Oh, really? Really?
From the sound and look of things, we just witnessed Depp throw a phone with considerable force. Again, not at Heard, but it's still not a great look.
No, I didn't. You were smashing shit.
In court, maybe it's also because Amber's lawyers are complete clowns. They made it seem like if you drink alcohol, you are a wife beater. Okay, no, that's actually not them being complete clowns. They're doing something that is really nefarious in that circumstance. But that's precisely the same reason why the fucking judge in the UK court sided with Amber and said, well, he does have alcohol abuse issues, so it's likely that he could have, in all the he said, she said circumstances, actually been physically violent, and therefore it's justifiable that Amber fought back. So that's the reason why. That's the reason why the Amber's defense team is saying that.
Smashing shit.
Moments after we hear Heard chuckle, we also get a glimpse of what appears to be a slight smirk on her face. The point that's made about this is that as unacceptable as Depp's behaviour may be, nothing about Heard's demeanour during this 2-minute video seems to suggest that she is afraid of Depp.
I mean, that's
which is especially curious if Heard is right about this being filmed in February of 2016. That would place it after the assaults on the plane in Australia and the severe beating that left her with 2 black eyes and a nearly broken nose. Staying on the subject of recordings that paint Johnny Depp as being less than a picture of stable mental health, another of Heard's recordings that was put forward over the course.
One common thread that you always have to remember in this circumstance is that no matter how much Johnny Depp tries to get away from the situation, and this again corresponds to the fucking counselor's statement, okay? The marriage couples relationship counselor's statement, sworn testimony, was that Johnny Depp would routinely try to not only leave the argument and altercations, but physically remove himself from these sorts of circumstances, and Amber Heard would regularly escalate. So remember, in almost every single one of these situations, no matter what the he said, she said looks like, it's always fucking prodding and needling and constantly and even personally engaging in self-admittedly, this is something that Amber Heard personally admitted, is hitting Johnny Depp so that, you know, like it's better that they fight even physically instead of have Johnny Depp leave. Okay. What is that fucking wig? Oibrov, baby. Oibrov quartz. And anyone who's ever been in a manipulative, toxic, abusive relationship knows exactly what that's like. Okay. Exactly what that's like. Maybe some of you are probably recognizing that you might be in one right now and you're like, what the fuck? It does seem like every time I'm in a situation and I'm like trying to, you know, de-escalate, but you know, the other party keeps escalating over and over again. And I'm just like, please, can we just not do this? Can we just not do this? And it's like, nope, it gets worse and worse the more I try to avoid it. Yeah. Someone with a lot of experience on that front, I will tell you, I've been there. And yeah, that's just, you're in a toxic relationship with an abusive partner who is trying to suck you back in.
Course of the trial was what we'll call the cut me tape. Not much is known about the surrounding context of this, other than it's apparently from July 2016. Depp and Heard are in a hotel room, and Depp is holding a knife.
Come in wherever you want. Come in.
This is the other reason why I said Johnny Depp is also emotionally manipulative too. This right here. I mean, it's like fucking lame and theater kid, whatever, but like that is a trait of a toxic partner as well.
This is really pretty.
Thanks. You want to cut me somewhere?
Do I want to cut you?
Yeah, you want an arm, you want a chest? What do you want? What do you want the star? What do you want? Cut me.
Just don't cut your skin. Please do not cut your skin. Please don't.
Cut me.
Why would I do that?
TC.
Don't, please do not do that. Please do not do that. Please don't. Please don't cut yourself. You don't need to cut yourself.
I need to do what I want.
I know it hurts. I feel the same.
Cut me. I want your mark.
You hurt.
No, you don't.
No, this isn't what I was thinking of. There's another instance where he's like, he busts out the knife and he's like, cut me. All you need is my blood. That's all you've done. It's like, they're just fucked up. They're super fucked up. This is another, dude, Hollywood, man. Hollywood. They're fucking freaks, okay? They're all fucking freaks, dude.
No, thank you. No, thank you. There's sperm on the pillows. Come here. If you don't, I will.
Elliot Spitzer, what? No! Yo, how does Elliot Spitzer get a shout out in this? Yo, I did not see. Okay, see, I didn't pre-watch this. Okay, I didn't pre-watch the entire thing. I just like cut through some of the parts. Oh my God, what?
Let's go.
Elliot Spitzer, famous foot fetishist, comptroller of Wall Street, one of the only people in the greater metropolitan New York region to have ever been indicted or rather suffer the consequences of hiring sex workers. I wonder why. Also, not exactly a conservative, but I guess a conservative from Johnny Depp's point of view. Many think that he was set up, yes, which I am one of those people. Also, worst indictment, though, for Elliot Spitzer, famously. For those of you who don't know, this is a fucking politics guy. I'll tell you this much. The worst thing that he ever did was date Liz Smith openly. That's right. Liz, Pete Buttigieg's motherfucking PR person, girl boss, slay queen, Liz Smith. Elliot Spitzer dated her. Oh, I'm fucking spilling the tea, sis. Okay? I didn't know so much bullshit. So many names, your brain is melted. He was the governor of New York before he got framed. Put some respect on his name. Yeah, okay, well, you know. I think the reason why he got clapped up was because of his experience as a comptroller and
please don't
wanted to prosecute Wall Street. I don't like rules. Thank you for the 5. Get the subs.
Please don't cut yourself. Please don't cut yourself. Please, I know it hurts. I would never cut you. I would never do that to you. Please don't.
Yeah, you hate me. Come on. Cut me.
To me
first. Not a problem. How you want?
Not on my arms.
Not on your arms. Not on your arms.
This is so creepy.
Want to be cut? gonna go to court.
It's really dull.
Shut up.
Don't
you tell me.
Blood play's hot. Don't at me. It should be consensual though. Dude, blood play is like, I don't know about that, man. I think that's some twisted ass Army Hammer shit.
Please don't do that. Put the knife down. Just put the knife down. Don't do that. Do not do that, Johnny. Please, you're
I
gonna
wanna look at you.
You're gonna hurt yourself. Please
I wanna
stop.
look at you.
I know you're in pain, but stop. Please
There's a
don't.
way for the pain to go away.
It's not that. It doesn't make you.
If the July 2016 date is correct, it's worth noting this puts the recording in between the restraining order and the settlement. So why the two are in a hotel room together is anyone's guess. Because of the lack of surrounding context, there's not a lot we can read into the clip beyond.
I think we know why they were together at a hotel room in between a restraining order. Let's be honest here for a brief moment, okay? It's not just that Amber Heard was manipulative and wanted to maintain the relationship and extend it regardless of how toxic or emotionally or physically abusive it got. There was also a secondary reason, very likely, that they just kept getting back together. I wonder why. Once again, speaking from experience, I am just going to say that, you know, there's additional reasons to do that. You know what I mean? Why does it sound white right now? Because I am, dude. Are you suggesting that the sperm didn't put itself on the pillows? I mean, I think he was just saying that there's sperm on the pillows as like a way of... Yes, the chatter, kiss me with the best shot, you are right. They were praying to Allah together. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you for elaborating and saying what I was afraid to say. Yes, they were... That's right. They were doing a reading of the Quran, and, you know, Johnny was showing his favorite surahs, and basically they were reciting them together, and he was explaining the deep meaning behind them. All of your dirty fucking kafir minds, okay? Kufar minds, however you say it in English. When you thought they were not praying to Allah, they were doing something different.
And what's apparent on a surface level. That is, Depp is clearly unwell and open to having injury inflicted upon him, as well as inflicting injury.
Not a joke, please. Okay, what do you want me to say? They were together because the sex was awesome? Is that what you want me to say? Because that's the real reason, probably, okay? Other than the abuse and manipulation. Yeah, because the sex was probably fucking bomb, dude. Gorilla grip coochie, okay? There you go. Are you happy? I was trying to make a different joke to go in the exact opposite direction, but fuck it. I'll just say it, okay?
On Heard, albeit only with her permission, it seems. In honesty, the main reason the Cut Me tape is even being included is so this video can't be accused of whitewashing Depp's mental state. We mentioned that Depp and Heard had a recording policy. This included what we would call DIY marriage counselling sessions. The full 2-hour audio of one of these, apparently recorded sometime in 2015, has become publicly available and includes a variety of intriguing moments. One thing that's particularly interesting is comments the couple make that relate to the dynamics of violence in their relationship. Clips from this recording made quite a splash when they came out, and Heard and her supporters objected that they were edited to make her look bad. In light of that, we should disclose that the following audio we're presenting is of course just one segment, and it has been trimmed down, but the edits are purely for presentational purposes and do not change the meaning of what can be heard on the full 2-hour tape, which is linked in the description.
Every fucking fight, there's a new thing that you've convinced yourself is a lie.
I said to you, Amber, tell Travis what you just did.
I don't like rules. Another 10. I don't like rules is just fucking peppering, dude. I don't like rules is just dropping fucking gift bombs in the chat today.
Fucking, did you punch me in the fucking jaw? Did you fucking kick? Did you? Did you? And you wouldn't say fucking reserve?
I didn't punch you, by the way. I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you. It was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched.
Don't tell me what it feels like to be punched.
You know, even a lot of fights have been around a long time. I know. Yeah.
No, when you fucking have a closed fist.
You get punched. You got hit. I'm sorry I hit you like this, but I did not punch you. I did not fucking deck you.
Yeah, by the way, this is another one of those like super damning ones, super damning incidents where it's like you're just gaslighting, girl boss, slay queen, manipulation. Crying Seamus, thank you for the 10 of the subs. Straight up, it is what it is. This is a girl boss, slay queening and gatekeeping and also gaslighting. Okay, straight up.
I fucking was hitting you.
You can't.
I don't know what the motion of my actual hand was, but you're fine. I did not hurt you. I did not punch you. I was hitting you. You're a fucking baby.
Because you start physical fights?
You're such a baby. Grow the fuck up.
Because you start
Johnny.
physical fights?
I did start a physical fight.
Yeah, you did, so I had to get the fuck out of there.
Yes, you did. So you did the right thing, the big thing. You know what? You're admirable.
So, now that we've been through five...
I would go so far as to say that is the most damning one. Not because she like openly admits to physical abuse or anything like that, which is, by the way, the only instance where like an admission to physical abuse exists, with the other exception of the Johnny Depp being apologetic for becoming the monster on the plane. But yeah, no, that seeing all of that and the entire collection of evidence and events that took place, in my opinion, it's pretty hard to just be like, nope, Johnny Depp was an abuser, piece of shit, unless you are completely fucking brain broken and have become the cartoonish depiction of rad femmes that the right routinely says the left is like. Okay? And there are some of you that are still like that, and it's hard to fucking get over that, and it's hard to like, I don't know, try to desperately try to figure out like why you feel that way and solve it. But hey, it is what it is. Okay, maybe you'll get better.
5 incidents, various witness accounts, text messages, audio and video records. What are we to make of this turbulent relationship as a whole? Beyond that it was clearly an abject train wreck, we don't really have a concise answer to that question, especially in light of the fact that this story is punishingly not over yet. At the time of this video's release, Depp and Heard are again in court, this time in Fairfax, Virginia, with Depp suing Heard directly for defamation over an op-ed she wrote for the Washington Post that heavily insinuated he abused her over the course of their marriage. Who's to say what will come out during those proceedings? Maybe detail is tantalizing enough to result in Johnny and Amber Part 2 popping up in your subscription feed later down the line. Probably not though, because frankly at this point we've had guts full of both of them.
So yeah. An open hand hit is not considered abuse to battered woman. Married women are basically property. What the fuck? Christ, dude. I know that chatter is like joking about what other people will claim. That's not, don't get mad at him immediately because I know you're like looking for something.